Hopefully that fixed it. We'll see. Welcome back, everybody. Need to read a couple comments. Maybe I'll wait as people come in. It's the return. Joan said, proudly one of your 2 YouTube comments for the day. Don't bring up YouTube comments. You're going to trigger some people. You don't want to bring that up. That's very triggering for some people. Did I read all Jen's too? Let's see. We set a new, Amy Lynn said, we set a new record for national debt and the tariff revenue is nowhere close to covering it. Surprise, surprise. I laugh because what else can we do with this clown in office? Yeah. I love Arby's. Arby's is good. Arby's actually has like a good chicken cordon bleu sandwich, or at least maybe. I don't know. I haven't had it in years. That's what I used to always get there. I don't want to trust the roast beef over there. It's iffy. I feel like they just keep that shit warm for like weeks at a time. All right, back into the show. I just want to show this video just for people who are unfamiliar with McCarthyism. I think this video is going to do a better job explaining it than me. Here you go.
All the things we believe in are in great danger.
The second Red Scare was the anti-communist fervor that permeated American culture in the late 1940s and 50s, during the beginning of the Cold War.
Great. That's what we need. Dude, this is crazy.
Our homes.
American culture in the late 1940s and 50s, during the beginning of the Cold War. This period was also known as McCarthyism, after Senator Joseph McCarthy. Although espionage trials and congressional hearings were the most sensational manifestations of McCarthyism, the biggest impact on everyday Americans were the employee loyalty tests, used widely across a large number of industries.
Does that sound familiar to anybody? Loyalty tests?
Between 1947 and 1956, more than 5 million federal workers were screened, resulting in an estimated 2,700 dismissals and 12,000 resignations.
Doesn't that sound pretty familiar to you? We have historic resignations and firings right now. And a lot of that's based on loyalty. And then weirdly enough, like Trump and MAGA, they're like, oh yeah, why would you not want people loyal to the administration? This is why.
Tens of thousands of civil servants.
Leave my internet alone. I pay for the most expensive internet that I possibly can get. I'm going to be honest, like I have been fighting with them. It's Cox. I've been fighting with, maybe, yeah, you guys can clip this. I've been fighting with Cox Internet for like the last 3 months. I can't get them to send out a technician. I tell them every time. I call them and I go, hey, I'm still having problems. It's intermittent. Sometimes it goes out. Can I have somebody come out here and look at my connection? And they go, have you reset the router? And I go, yeah. And they're like, well, is it working now? Yeah. Well, let's have you reset the router. I don't need that. Then I reset the router and then they go, is it working? And I'm like, yep. And they're like, it's all good on our end. And I say, I know, but it won't be. Can somebody come out and check the connections? And they say, let me transfer you. And then they transfer me and then it hangs up on me. So I can never get to like that department. It is crazy. Capitalism has fucked us so hard now. We're just cool with never being able to talk to anybody. It's wild. I just switched from AT&T to Verizon not that long ago for my cell phone service. Fucking nightmare trying to get anybody on the phone.
Endured investigations with written interrogatories, hearings, appeals, and months of waiting for a decision, sometimes without pay. McCarthyism's power weakened in the late 1950s, but the legacy was deeply felt. Many Americans hesitated to sign petitions or engage in any activism that might possibly be construed as controversial and trigger accusations of communism. Fewer people were willing to join voluntary organizations during the civil rights era. Segregationists such as Senator James Eastland and Alabama Governor George Wallace routinely linked race reform to communism.
Sound familiar? Communist, socialist, Marxist. Still fighting the same fight. Like we're literally fighting the same 1950s fight. We've already done this fight. We already did all of this. And we learned from it. We thought that, and I think maybe this is why like they don't want to teach this in history. I think this is maybe why conservatives don't want a true view of history, because when you step in and you try and do stuff that we've already done, stuff that we already fucked up, stuff that we already should have learned from, uh, then people might not do it. People might figure out that what we're doing right now in this country is exactly what we tried to do in the 50s: is force everybody to one political side. This was forced with when Eisenhower came into office. It was the real first like Republican rebellion power grab. I think Eisenhower was the first president in like decades, Republican president, and they immediately stepped in, seized power, called all of their enemies communists, tried to kick them out of the government. Which, by the way, who cares? Why can't you be a communist in the government? What part of our Constitution says that we can't have a communist party, or that a communist party can't win? This is what's fucking remarkable. Like, imagine if Democrats got into office and they said you can't have capitalists in the government anymore. They got to go. They're an enemy to the people. And you literally just started calling anybody who disagreed with you a capitalist and remove them from the government. That would seem insane, right? We can have communists in this country. We can have socialists in this country. There's nothing in our Constitution that says like this must be your political ideology. This must be your economic perspective. You can have whatever you want. But what they do, and what they did then and what they do now, is they tie communism to things that scare bitch ass white people. And as a white person and sometimes a bitch ass, I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to talk about this. But this is what we see consistently. People are far more likely to believe their fear than they are reality. We're watching it in DC right now. We have crime rates that are dropping. Right? We had a spike in crime, and we have crime rates that are dropping. And you have all these people coming out there saying, "Oh, well, I don't really care about government overreach because I'm scared." And they're citing other scared people. But the crime rates drop. That means we're already working on it. And yes, we can get better, but like we're already headed in the right direction. But people looked over and they saw Russia, and they're like, "Oh, bad guys." Why was Russia always the bad guy? One, because they were bad, because they were similar to us, and two, because they were the enemy. And so, rather than say like, "Are you the same as the Russians? Are you trying to invade other countries?" They were like, well, some of the Russians claim to be communists, so it's actually communism that's the problem. So here in America, if you believe in communism, or if you like the ideas of communism, you're the same as them. You're dangerous to us. We have to get rid of you. And who do you think was funding all of that? Who do you think was funding the news articles and the radio shows about that? Do you think it was the same people? You think it was the same elites? Of course it was. It was elitist capitalists. It was the people who wanted all of the money. They funded all of this. And who did they donate to? Who did they give it to? People who would back them up. People who went to Washington to back up the corporations.
Many of the prominent leaders of the civil rights movement were
Look, we could do an entire episode on Mao if we wanted to, but what Mao did had nothing to do with communism, right? It's just it's the same reason I'm not a communist, same reason I'm not a socialist, same reason I'm not a capitalist, same reason I don't have an ideology. If you have an ideology, you are prone to be tricked. You are prone to cede control. You are prone to have less freedom. Having an ideological slant puts you oftentimes in a position where you have to choose between authoritarianism and a belief system that you don't like. And when you are faced with a belief system that you don't like versus authoritarianism, most of you will choose authoritarianism. So, for example, the people who joined like the schmatzy parties because they're like, "Oh, I'm a socialist," those people join the party. They're like, "I believe in the ideals of democratic socialism." And then when Schmittler starts doing all of his shit, they're like, well, they have to fight back. They have to fight back against these people. These are the anti-democratic socialists. And so the democratic socialists that were there that held that belief of democratic socialism were like, "You know what? I'm going to side with the strong man here because the strong man is going to make sure that my belief system is upheld." That's why Trump's approval rating is at 90% in the GOP. It's not because of freedom. It's the exact opposite. It's because he is forcing their beliefs on others, and he is forcing alternate beliefs out of the government. It's a silencing of voices. And that's why I'm not an ideologue. It's why I don't like debating ideologies. It's why I think that if you are ideologically driven, you are at a disadvantage in life. You are at a disadvantage of making the right decisions. History is full of ideological people doing abhorrent things because they believed the alternative would be worse. I don't like any of that, but that's what Mao took advantage of. That's what Hitler took advantage of. That's what Trump is taking advantage of right now. That's what Bolsonaro tried to take advantage of in Brazil. That's what Orban took advantage of. All of these people, this is what they take advantage of. They take advantage of your ideology, and they say, look, we're at war right now, and it's a war between two sides. Charlie Kirk says that every day. Benny Johnson says that every day. The people, you go on TikTok and you watch these debates, and every day it's like we're at a war. It's true, but the war isn't about the ideologies. Ideological wars are meant to be fought on the debate stage, right there in a public forum. You're meant to share your ideas and debate your ideas, but instead now what we do is we say my ideology is better than yours, and so I'm cool with authoritarianism to force my ideology. So when people point to Mao, or when they point to Hitler, or when they point to the USSR, the most apt comparison in American history are times like this. Times like we're at right now, and times like McCarthyism, these attempted overthrows. Now, we're fortunate in the United States that we've never had somebody that was successful like Putin or Mao or Hitler. So far, these people have been unsuccessful. We'll see. We'll see if that holds up.
Investigated by the FBI. Former loyalty defendants, even those who had been cleared, lived the rest of their lives in fear that the old accusations would resurface.
No, not like vaccines. There is still no nationwide vaccine mandate. If you do not want to be vaccinated, you don't have to be vaccinated. You could argue that governments, and I would agree with this, although this is actually, I actually do think vaccines are maybe a good example. So, for example, I live in Arizona. I am vaccinated. I think that the science on there is good. I think the science at the time wasn't as solid. I think it's far more solid now. And I think that because of what I wanted the disease to spread, or the virus to spread less quickly. And I wanted us to get to herd immunity quicker. So I was probably more supportive of a vaccine mandate. And I do think that that's I think clearly now we could say that is an overstep of what our government is allowed to do. We could change the Constitution if we want. We could change the laws so that we could do that. But I think in places where there was a vaccine mandate, which was almost nowhere, by the way, like what city had a vaccine mandate? There were vaccine mandates to go to like certain places. But yeah, you could say that was a overstep, but then it ended. It wasn't like that was used to then cede more power somewhere else. That was the argument by a lot of Republicans. They're like, I know that it's just vaccines, but this will be used to see or to consolidate more power. That never happened. Ironically enough, what Republicans have been complaining about for the last 4 years should have been a warning to all of you, and some of us caught it, that this was just their plan. When they talked about censoring news organizations and social media sites, and when they talked about the censorship on college campuses that wasn't happening, we should have known that this is just them saying, like, here's what we're about to do. Here's the article from February from Politico. It's kind of long, but it's crazy how accurate this was. January 22nd, 1953, his first day as Secretary of State, John Foster Dulles, who I believe that's the Dulles brother that was that the airport was named after, I'm pretty sure, addressed a group of diplomats at his department's still new headquarters in Washington's Foggy Bottom neighborhood. For years, the State Department had come under fire from Republicans and conservative activists as a haven for communist spies and sympathizers. And not without reason, since one of its rising stars, Alger Hiss, had been convicted of perjury in 1950 for lying about giving secret government documents to a Soviet spy. So you see an actual event here of a member of Congress being convicted of perjury for giving secret documents to a Soviet spy. If we want to compare now, the Soviets or Russia, is there anybody that has been convicted of sharing information with the Soviets? A couple, right? There's been a couple, but the most recent ones came from within the Trump administration. So we do have like a little bit of a historical parody here. The failure to find more hisses and the fact that hisses actions had taken place over a decade in the past did nothing to appease men like Joseph McCarthy, who shot to national prominence just weeks after hisses conviction with his claim, this will sound familiar, to have a list of hundreds of spies within the State Department. By the time Doulles arrived that morning, public faith in the department and morale within it had cratered. While his opening speech to his new employees, Doulles made clear that while he was their boss, he was not on their side. Dulles' words were as cold and raw as the weather that day, wrote the diplomat Charles Bolin. Dulles announced that starting that day, he expected not just loyalty, but positive loyalty from his charges, making clear that he would fire anyone whose commitment to anti-communism was less than zealous. It was a declaration by the Secretary of State that the department was indeed suspect, Bolin wrote. The remark disgusted some Foreign Service officers, infuriated others, and displeased even those who were looking forward to the new administration. Does this all sound very familiar to you? They hire a bunch of people and they go into the State Department, they go into the Justice Department, and they start demanding loyalty. Not just loyalty, not like quiet loyalty, but zealous loyalty. Zealous commitment to anti-communism, which again is not anti-American. It's not anti-constitutional. You should be allowed to have different monetary theories. It should be okay to have different ideas of what we should do with taxpayer funds. Now, communism's weird because there would be no government if we had communism. So I have this sneaking suspicion that these people were just like the communists in China, where they call themselves communists without actually being communists. Same with Republicans and Democrats. So began what until now was the largest purge of disloyal government workers in U.S. history. Similar scenes played out across the federal government under the new administration of Eisenhower, the first Republican elected president in 2 decades. Though the State Department was ground zero for the anti-communist purges, FBI agents scoured the files of thousands of employees across the federal government. This is what Laura Loomer's been doing, and this is what the FBI has been doing. This is what the Department of Defense has been doing. They have gone through the files of employees, including like their social media records, their public appearances, and they look for anybody who has been at all critical of Donald Trump, and then they fire that person. In April 1953, Eisenhower issued Executive Order 10450, which opened an energetic campaign to investigate thousands of potential security threats throughout the government. We like to think they are plugging the entries, but opening the exits, said White House Press Secretary James Haggerty. Now, look, just put yourself in April 1953. Just put yourself there. You're in America. You have limited access to information. You don't have the same access to information that we have now. You have been raised and indoctrinated, and sometimes, and rightfully so in some ways, that Russia was the enemy, and that the USSR was the enemy, and the reason the USSR was bad was because of communism, right? So you could imagine that many Americans had a very similar response to many Americans in America today who have been lied to for about a decade now about the plans of the Democrats, and specifically things like replacement theory, things like communism, this idea that we're trying to trans your kids, all of this shit. You guys have been fed a steady diet of fear of what we plan to do on this side of the aisle, right? And what Democrats like Joe Biden, who is just a Republican, he's like 2016 Republican, and like they smeared that guy as a communist. Like Joe Biden is Mitt Romney. There's a very little difference between Mitt Romney and Joe Biden. So you can understand how these people might have been feeling, because we all engage with MAGA today, and we know that they largely have been put into hysterics by a steady campaign of fear mongering. They're eating your pets. They're taking your kids. They have sex trafficking rings. Lie after lie after lie to get you to believe that what the Democrats are is like this cabal of communists. Bro, I wish the Democrats were more left. I wish that I didn't look at like 90% of Democrats and go like, what's the difference between you and Republicans is basically like you don't hate gay people. That seems to be like the only difference between you and a generic Republican. Over the next 4 months, 1,456 federal employees were fired, despite the fact that not one was ever found to be involved in espionage. Now that rings true today. We've had thousands, over, I think, like 12,000 people fired from the federal government. It might be more than that. But just inside the Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, and am I missing any? The NSA. I think it's somewhere around 12,000. Not one of them has been convicted of a crime. No, I haven't seen any evidence of a crime. In fact, a lot of them are legitimately Laura Loomer saying, I found a Facebook post where they said, I don't like Trump, or like Biden 2024, or Biden 2024, whatever it might be. The same thing happened here. We've already done this. 1,400 federal employees. At the time when they were fired, the American public, as a whole, like the majority of Americans were like, yes, good. Finally, the danger is removed from us. Turns out there was no danger. These folks apparently didn't pose any danger. Many were removed simply for being gay, which the order had explicitly defined as a security risk. Doing the same thing in the Department of Defense right now. Just like your sexuality, your gender is what gets you removed. Air Force Lieutenant Milo Radulovich was forced to resign his commission simply because his sister was a suspected communist. Remember when we just fire James Comey's daughter because Comey was viewed as not pro-Trump, so we fired his daughter? Again, they didn't even lie about that. They didn't even say like, "Oh, she was fired for performance." No. The defense. I saw Scott Jennings defend this. I saw Caroline Leavitt defend this. They said, "You work at the pleasure of the president. He can fire whoever he wants." They're not even, nobody in this administration is saying that these people are actually criminals. They're saying they were accused and they don't like Trump, but Trump can fire whoever he wants. That's the one part that maybe they learned from like the 50s. Like, hey, don't say that it's a crime. Just say the president can do it. Others like cartographer Abraham Chasnow were pushed out on the basis of flimsy rumors of suspicious political beliefs. The widespread political purges of the early 1950s echo clearly today. 70 years ago, the reasonable pretext of hunting Soviets opened the way to a years-long paranoid campaign motivated by outlandish conspiracy theories that destroyed countless careers but did absolutely nothing to improve America's security. Today, a stated desire to check the excesses of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs has already been used to justify whirlwind firings and closures of entire federal offices. So it may be wise to consider the consequence of that previous era of purges, part of which came to be known as the Red Scare. At a time of intense geopolitical competition, the United States kneecapped itself, removing thousands of valuable employees and forcing those who remained into unhappy conformity. It's not hard to see the same mistake being repeated here today. Now, do you think the Soviet Union liked this? I bet they did. I bet if we go back, we were able to, and somebody can research this. I bet that the Soviet Union, despite the fact that they were throwing out communists, was like, good, a more divided America. They are willing to weaken their own defenses in order to get rid of people who politically disagree with them. We've seen it over and over and over here. We got every department. The Department of Justice. We're short on attorneys. We're short in the FBI. We're short everywhere. We just had Russia hack our court systems. What's that system called? Somebody help me with the name of that our court system. Off the top of my head, I can't get it now. Like we are left with less of a defense because we can't work with people on along different political ideologies. The hunt for disloyal public services servants didn't begin with Eisenhower and Doulles. Following the 46 midterms in which Republicans took control of the House and Senate with a campaign built on anti-communist attacks, Truman signed Executive Order 9835. It ordered the Civil Service Commission to screen the background of every current and new federal employee, well over 1 million people, for evidence of disloyalty, a term that was left ominously undefined. The screening drew on files from across the government, as well as police departments, former employers, even college transcripts. Truman also instructed his Attorney General Tom Clark to devise a list of subversive organizations, current or former membership in just one would constitute a bright red flag. This is exactly so. Before Trump takes office, you have Republicans winning back the House, and what did the House do for the entire time they had control under the Biden administration? They investigated Democrats. They went after Joe Biden. What are they doing now? They're trying to make it like the weakest RICO case I've ever seen. They haven't even figured out what crime yet, and they're already like preparing a RICO case. They're using weird terms like treason to define like a sentence in a report that they said, oh, this was cited, this could have been cited better. And they're like, oh, that's treason, and everybody's in on it. They're doing the exact same thing. Like literally any amount of connection to Obama, they're just lumping you in with a RICO case. And now you have an administration whose obvious loyalty is to Donald Trump. They have put out absolutely fucking nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. The Durham Annex, the ICA report, and now this from old Cokehead. Nothing. No alleged crime. You read through it. There is no crime. It's just this is a crime, but Republicans are going to run with it, and they're just going to believe it. And you'll have a bunch of Republican content creators today, just like after the ICA report and the Durham Annex, and they're scrambling to try and figure out what the fuck is in those documents that's a crime. And they still say it's a crime, even though they can't prove it's a crime. Why? Because they have an ideology. Their ideology is tied to Donald Trump. And so the ideology has become Donald Trump. So anything the Trump administration does must therefore promote their ideology. So when they put out a document like this, the people who are going to that document, who are Trump supporters, come in with an ideology already established, and they try and confirm it by picking and choosing parts out of those documents that confirm their own bias. But what none of those documents do is allege a crime or lay out a crime. None of them. None of those documents say a crime was committed. The only people saying crimes are committed are the people in front of microphones. And when asked to explain what crimes are committed, they can't do it because there are no crimes. This is like we are so far past. Is this authoritarian? Will he be a dictator? We're doing authoritarianism. And we're well past this time where Republicans can defend this. Because you know what? Russia has free elections too. Russia doesn't have a dictator either. Go ask the Russians. Do you guys have a dictator? Oh, no. Go ask the followers of Orban. Or do you guys have a dictator? Oh, no. Go ask the Israelis if they have a dictator. Oh, no. Go ask the Brazilians who support Bolsonaro. Do you have a dictator? Oh, no, we don't have a dictator. Go ask the supporters now of Maduro. No, we don't have a dictator. You know what I mean? Like, go ask the people in North Korea. No, we don't have a dictator. Go ask the people in China. No, we don't have a dictator. Trump wants to be them. Republicans want daddy. Remember that Tucker Carlson clip I showed you? They all want a daddy. That's why like there's this hierarchy in in media on the Republican side, and you have like these branches. They fall off from time to time and they split. It used to be like you had like Ben Shapiro, and then you had like the Blaze, and then the Blaze and Ben Shapiro fell off, and you saw the emergence of like Charlie Kirk, and now you're seeing the emergence of the alt-right, and you have some figures like on the alt-right. And it's all like, as soon as that person comes into a space, whoever the leader is, everybody shuts the fuck up. We even have it a little bit on TikTok. If anytime older millennial walks into a space, he gets their platform. They just hand it over to him, which is crazy because he's by far one of the dumbest people on the right. Not a unique thought in his head. If any of you saw Isaiah truck him the other day, Isaiah Martin, shout out Isaiah Martin, who's incredible, just dump trucks. Older millennial, because older millennial was saying that only 16% of our revenues are income tax, which is crazy. I think it's like 48 or 49%. And Isaiah was like, no, it's like 50%, dude. And he just kept doubling down on it. And the people in the chat are like, that's right, I'm with OM. It's like, just fucking Google it. Not one of you wants to Google it, but if he shows up, he gets to take over. They all have daddy issues. They all want somebody to tell them what to do. They all want somebody to look up to give them their narrative, and they can drive it home, and they can go out and they repeat it. And they all suck at repeating it, which is why, like, for a while here, for weeks, we've said, any one of you that think Andrew Wilson stomped me in a debate, which you're fine. Like, I've said it before, like, nobody wins debates. I just want any of you to explain what happened in that debate, and none of you can do it. Why? Because you all are like cucks with daddy issues, and you just look up to somebody to baby bird feed it down your throat. And that's why none of you can figure out what the fuck they're saying. That's why when you're faced with the opportunity to defend it, you can't. That's why, like, at the end of that debate, like in any debate I've done on Raging Tomato, the open panel, if you notice, it always winds up with the whole panel and me being like, cool. Because once they have to argue the case, and once they're able to ask the questions, they don't really have responses for that anymore. So by the end, we're always cool because they need that top-down approach. That's what we see here with Republicans right now. That's what we see with the right right now. We have a bunch of people who are too dysfunctional to create any argument of their own, which, by the way, if you were there, if you're over there on that side, how the fuck are you going to form an argument right now to defend what's happening? What possibly could you have to defend right now other than well, Biden? What about Biden? What about? There's no argument there. So you guys are all just happy to sit by and be dumb fucking lemmings while we have an authoritarian takeover. I mean, I don't like lazy, like intellectually lazy people, and we have far too much of that in America. In a way, like we kind of just had it coming. Every country that's involved themselves in our elections and in our messaging, they've all seen this coming for decades, and they've all just been adding fuel to the fire. There's a reason that Russia dumps money into our elections. There's a reason that Russia dumps money into bots. There's a reason for all of that. It's to fuel the divide. It's to, and the mission accomplished. This has literally been Vladimir Putin's goal the entire time, is to divide America so much that now we have a significant amount of Americans who are siding with Russia, who are like openly speaking Russian talking points. Russia, who has just invaded another country. We have Republicans out here going, it's actually probably our fault. It's probably us that caused Russia to invade Ukraine. I bet that's what it is. The loyalty program's first director, Seth Richardson, which is Russ Vote, by the way, just insert Russ Vote here, insisted that the government had a complete right, or actually Stephen Miller is a better person here. So Seth Richardson is Stephen Miller, insisted that the government had a complete right to discharge employees without extending to such employee any hearing whatsoever. In one case, James Kutcher, who lost both his legs in World War II, was fired from a veterans administration because a decade earlier, he had been a member of the Socialist Workers' Party, an anti-Stalinist organization that Clark had nevertheless added to his subversives list. I think the miscalculation by us on this side of the aisle is that Republicans would give a fuck about firing veterans, about firing somebody who's disabled, about firing a single mom, and not having any evidence to do it. I think we severely overestimated the humanity by American conservatives, because they have not given a single fuck about any of these people's livelihoods at all. Not a single fuck. And I do think that part of the problem that we have now on the left that we've got to address is these types of videos. These types of news segments where we just focus on the cruelty. It doesn't seem to change much, right? Because if you focus on the cruelty, then the Republicans go, oh yeah, they're just focused on that one story. They did it with Abrego Garcia. They were able to flip that narrative for a lot of people. I think that they won that narrative originally. I think they're losing it now. But the Abrego Garcia was like, oh, you're going to support this guy? He's a wife beater. He's got charges. It's because there were a lot of people on the left that went out with Abrego Garcia, and instead of understanding what had happened, that due process had been ignored, that rights were being taken away, and that's a violation of one person's rights is a violation of all of our rights. Instead of doing that, they tried to make Abrego Garcia, and I'm not accusing everybody of this, but they tried to make Abrego Garcia like this figure that we should have so much empathy for. That he was a good person that was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and his rights were being trampled on. The reality is, not a very good person. Definitely a person we should deport. Definitely a person who shouldn't be here in America. Definitely not the type of person we want here immigrating to our country. But sometimes our own humanity and our push towards empathy and our desire to have empathy for others gets weaponized against us, and this was one of those cases. That was one of those cases where publicly we kind of lost the messaging war, because what they were allowed to do is be like, flip that back on some people and say, hey, why are you defending this guy? We weren't. So, at least I wasn't. I was just defending due process. And so I do think that in this war, we've got to come armed with facts, and we've got to be able to message this in a way that people understand that these attacks don't end with just people who disagree with them. I say this to any of my Mormon friends that are out there right now. You are on the list. These people, the Russ votes, the Christian nationalists, that the Doug Wilson, you know who they really don't like at all? Mormons. Look what happens anytime I'm in a debate and I say I grew up in a Christian cult. But you'll have a bunch of Christians like, oh, that's not Christianity. Oh, Mormonism, that's way worse. They'll get rid of Mormonism in a heartbeat because it takes away from the authority of the Bible, because you have a Book of Mormon and you have a living prophet. There's no end to this divide. If you find yourself I'm in a minority position in the Republican Party, whether it be like ethnically, whether it be ideologically, if you find yourself in a minority position, if this continues, if this fascist takeover continues, eventually you're on the outs. And now you watch what they do. They're willing to remove people. They're willing to jail people. They're willing to silence people. They're willing to fire people with literally no evidence. So if you find yourself at odds with Donald Trump at all right now, just understand that if this progresses, eventually you're going to have to shut the fuck up, or you're going to be removed too. Those are going to be your options. The entire Republican Party, everybody who is critical of Donald Trump has been removed. You basically have like Thomas Massey and slightly Marjorie Taylor Greene at this point. And they're going to primary the fuck out of Thomas Massey. They're going to pour millions of dollars into that primary. And what will it get them, by the way? What will that get for Republicans? It will get you nothing. Thomas Massey's probably if you're a fiscally responsible, Thomas Massey's your dude. He's represented the voters of Kentucky in the way that they wanted. And he's going to be removed because he said bad things about Donald Trump. And what will they replace him with? Some fucking dipshit. It'll be some fucking dipshit who just toes the party line. And you'll be like, yay, we did it. You did it in Wyoming. You have Cynthia Loomis. You have some of the dumbest people ever to occupy Congress in your party right now because they're sycophants. Look no further than Paul Gosar in Arizona. This guy has been having a severe mental breakdown and cognitive decline for 12 years now. His entire family has come out and said, this guy needs medical help. Do not vote for him. This is not the guy we grew up with. This isn't like his thoughts. This is a guy who is in severe mental decline. You could just watching him, like, he clearly has a medical condition. You guys had somebody in a nursing home in Texas. Nobody saw her for 6 months. She disappeared, but nobody cared. Why? Because the only thing that matters in the modern conservative movement is your loyalty to Donald Trump. All right, you can read that article. It'll be dropped in the Discord, but incredibly accurate stuff from Politico there. That was Clay Risen is the person who wrote that. Let's jump down to Russia, actually. I want to get that. This was the story I was talking about. This is out of the New York Times. Russia is suspected of being behind a breach of the federal court filing system. Actually, let me catch up on super chats real quick. And Jen, you can do messages. I'll do that. A Wargo said Putin is winning the Cold War. Facts. Jen, are you here? Maybe. What'd you send me?
Yeah, I'm here. I just have to mute the other stuff so we don't get feedback.
Thank you.
All right, so we are, I don't know.
I have an update. I'll update it right now.
Yeah, so we got about 2 hours, 10 minutes left of the show. We do this each day, Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 1 Pacific time. How we can keep going is that gift goal in the top left-hand corner that Jay will be updating here in a minute. We need to hit that number so that we can keep the lights on. So you see the pay links, the V, the C, and the V. Those all go towards knocking out that gift goal. And if you're on YouTube, super chats also. So if you guys could help us knock out that balance before the end of the show, we would greatly appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to us already, please do so. You can subscribe anywhere that you're watching. Being a subscriber, you get to stay a part of member-only events. So if you would like to join us for those, we had one on Monday. Please subscribe. If you guys disagree with our TV, and I see there's a handful on TikTok and on YouTube, specifically you, Tom Bomba, on TikTok, you had a lot to say. You guys can actually come and talk to Jay in real time. And how you do that is if you look at the Venmo username, That's my Discord. You send me a message on Discord, add me on Discord. I can bring you up to talk to him in real time. And that's how you can do that. You don't have to sit down there and say that he's wrong, he's lying, and all these other things in the comments. So that's how you can do that. You can put your big boy pants on and
yeah, Tom. I didn't see those comments from Tom. I see him now. Yeah.
Tom's got lots of feelings right now.
Well, come on up, Tom.
So,
let's talk.
So yeah, that's how you can do that. Check out our the link tree in the bio. We're on most social media platforms. We've got merch. We upload all these episodes to Spotify, and Jay's on Cameo. So,
will you get?
There's all that.
Will you get with MT Clark too? Said that they had to edit their GIF 10x to send. That's weird. I don't. If anybody else is having that problem on YouTube, let us know, will you? That's crazy.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any control over that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's an app thing. But yeah, so there's all that. So a guy in a leather jacket told me that if I gave him $100 after 6 weeks, he'd pay me $500.
Okay.
Turned out to be a Fonzie scheme.
Thanks, Jen. MT says Jay's the GOAT. He's not debating because no one hit the box. You got to hit the box. It is gets obnoxious every day to have people say that I don't want to debate. You can come up here and debate anytime you want. Let me read. There was also Pink said fuck Trump, fuck Israel, and fuck the fucking fucks who still support them. That's beautiful. Brother Bob, good to see you, my friend. Said shout out to the RTP fam. Hi, Jay and Jen. Jabbar said I can't remember how much do you pay us to watch again? Millions. You're all getting millions to watch me. That's how you guys get paid.
Thanks for the sub.
All right. So here's the story. Russia is suspected to be behind a breach of the federal court filing system. Investigators have uncovered evidence that Russia is at least partly responsible for a recent hack of the computer system that manages federal court documents, including highly sensitive records with information that could reveal sources and people charged with national security crimes. It's not clear what entity is responsible, whether an arm of Russian intelligence might be behind the intrusion or if other countries were also involved. The disclosure comes as Trump is expected to meet with Putin. Is that this Friday? Yeah, it's this Friday. I don't remember the name of what is the Pacer? There it is. In recent weeks, judges of the Eastern District of New York have been taking corrective measures. On Friday, the chief judge of District Margot Brody issued an order prohibiting the uploading of sealed documents to Pacer, the searchable public database for documents and court dockets. Ordinarily, sealed documents would be uploaded to the database, but behind a paywall. Now, look, let's be conspiratorial. Let's talk about it. Is there anybody who can you guys think of anybody who might have had access to our records, specific like the government's records, who might have only had access for a little while, and then we found out that the logins that person and that organization were using were being signed into from Russian IPs just moments after creating the usernames and passwords, after they changed those. Can anybody think of a time when that happened? Anybody might have been sharing this type of information? Can anybody, is there anything that maybe Vladimir Putin, let's say that Putin he wants to keep Crimea, he wants to keep the parts of the Donbass, and he's going into negotiation on Friday. Do you think it would be useful to Vladimir Putin if he was able to somehow get access to the Pacer system and maybe get access to, I don't know, documents that this current president is unwilling to put out for some reason? And when Donald Trump goes to meet with Vladimir Putin, will we get a transcript of that? Or will it be like all meetings with Vladimir Putin with Trump where they remove people taking notes and it has to be done in secret? Will we have a record of that? We won't. Will it surprise anybody when Trump walks out of that meeting and starts bashing Zelensky and praising Vladimir Putin? I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by that. And for anybody who wants it, like the Republicans now have gotten to the point where the only way they'll believe this is if Trump himself walks out and is like, I'm siding with Vladimir Putin because he has the Epstein files that I don't want to release. And no, I'm not a deep fake. And no, I'm not having a bad day. And yes, I'm telling you the truth. Scout's honor, this is me telling you that I am being coerced to give Vladimir Putin what he wants. That's the only way most Republicans will believe him. Isn't it weird That was the accusation of Trump with Putin. Hillary Clinton said that. Joe Biden said that. We've been saying it forever. That it seems like no matter what Putin does, Trump doesn't really do anything about it. Trump seems to do the bidding for Vladimir Putin often. This war that he was going to stop on day one, he hasn't even tried. The only thing he's done is like brought Zelensky in and yelled at him like, be grateful. That's it. It's ironic that the two organizations we know of that, or two governments we know of that have worked intimately with Trump or the people around Trump are the two places that are fighting wars that the entire world agrees are unwarranted and that they're both committing war crimes. And oddly enough, this administration and you Republicans are siding with them. That's weird, right? Because you don't, because you're anti-communism, you're anti-left. It's the same thing that conservatives did in the 30s when they sided with Hitler. I don't know. He's making some good points over there. Yeah, we're really the ones. We really provoked Hitler. It was probably Neville Chamberlain's fault. That's probably why Hitler had to take parts of Poland. That's why Hitler decided to try and take over Europe. It's probably our fault. You sound no different than Nazi apologists from the 1930s, and yet here we are. You sound no different than the McCarthyites in the 1950s. It's almost like there's this thing about conservatism, and the entire ideology is things used to be better. Remember when you were a kid and you were happier? Well, now you're not as happy. So trust us, we'll take it back to how it was when you were a kid. They never do. It never goes back to how you were when you were a kid. We keep making progress. But we have these segments of American history where we're like, we're just swimming along, we're making progress, and then somebody out of nowhere convinces all these Americans that actually they're in danger, and that what we need to do is we need to remove people from government, we need to lock people up, and we need to hand more control to the federal government because you are not safe. And it turns out in all of those instances, you were never unsafe. You were just dumb, you were lazy, and you were bitches. And you just like, oh, I need daddy to tell me what to do. So you go along with it. And ironically, at the same time, it's always the people that are like, this is a masculine thing. Sometimes you got to make hard decisions. This is why we can't have women in government, because they wouldn't make hard decisions like this. Yeah, maybe had our government been run equally with men and women, yeah, maybe we wouldn't have had like concentration camps in this country. Maybe we wouldn't have thrown people in jail or removed them from office just because they had a different political ideology. Maybe the thing we could do in America that would help us the most is root out fear-mongering conservatism. If you like how things are now and you want it to stay, that's fine. But what we do need to get rid of is people's ability to lie to you and scare you into getting you to support exactly the opposite of what you say your beliefs are. We're free speech unless that speech is different than ours. We love freedom. Give us a surveillance state harder, daddy. I don't like censorship. We're going to sue every college and every TV station that doesn't do exactly what Trump wants. And you go along with it because all they've done is they've scared you into believing that if they don't do this to us, we'll do it to you, but we've never done it to you. It never happens to you. The conservatives in this country have never been attacked and jailed and silenced, ever. The closest you guys have is like during COVID when you had a bunch of Nazi sympathizers and conspiracy theorists putting up stuff about democratic child sex rings, Jewish space lasers, and COVID conspiracies. And these places that have advertisers like, we can't have this on our platform. So they got rid of it. And then somehow those same dipshits that none of you agree with, by the way, they were able to get you to like co-opt their struggle. Yeah, it really wasn't fair that you got rid of Laura Loomer. It wasn't fair to us. And then now you're at a place where the craziest amongst you speak for you. Why? Because they took you and they're like, fight this fight with us. We're in it together. We're the same. And you're like, yeah, probably. You weren't. And now you have them leading you. And that's why you guys all look extremist now. Sandra said, RTP, thank you. Thank you, Izzy, as well. Appreciate you guys. All right. Here's what Zelensky had to say ahead of this meeting. Now, Trump floated The idea that Zelensky might be there, I don't know why he floated that. I can't imagine Zelensky's going to be there unless I've missed something. But here's what Zelensky had to say.
Told
Obviously, it's translated here, so you're not going to hear Zelensky's voice.
President Trump and all our European allies, Putin is bluffing. He's trying to push before the Alaska meeting on all directions of our front line. Russia wants to occupy the whole of Ukraine. This is his wish. And Putin is bluffing that sanctions is nothing and they don't work. In fact, sanctions are hitting Russian war economy hard. It's true. Russia has a lot of weapons, many times over than we have. Artillery, let's say, for three times more. But they sustaining 3 times more losses. And I said about it to our European friends, to President Trump, that Putin definitely does not want peace. He wants to occupy Ukraine. And we all understand that Putin cannot fool anyone. We need future and further pressure and European and American sanctions against Russia. And together, our union of partners can stop war of Putin's. We spoke about the Alaska summit. We hope that the central topic will be the ceasefire, immediate ceasefire.
I missed it. Cue the CNN. Listening to CNN. I'm listening to Zelensky, dude. It's crazy. If I showed this, if this was Trump on the screen, you would say the same thing, that I'm listening to CNN. I'm just telling you what Zelensky's saying, bud.
President Trump was mentioning it many times. He suggested that after the Alaska meeting, we will have a contact and we'll discuss all the results, if there will be results, and we'll decide our next common steps.
The point that Zelensky's making here is the over-engineering by conservatives and supporters of Russia. We're doing this in Israel and we're doing it in Russia. There is a simple solution to all of this. The entire world is willing to sanction both Israel and Russia. And the only way that they can survive is if the United States refuses to join the rest of the world. So as long as the United States has loopholes for Russia, and as long as we don't slap them with crippling sanctions, they can continue. We are sanctions away from ruining Russia. And look, that's what we have to do. I'm going to show you a clip here of Dave Smith in a little bit losing it. But this is crazy. Like, you have conservatives now saying, you know what we should do? We should let Russia keep this land rather than sanctioning them. We should reward them for invading another country, and we could sanction them to death, literally. And by the way, eventually the Russians would rise up against their own government, right? We could sanction them. We could join the rest of the world along with Israel. We could do the same thing to Israel, and we could force them. But we won't for some reason. It's so bizarre that the two countries we know for sure have infiltrated our politics, who pay our politicians, who have dirt on our politicians. We know that these two countries for sure have dirt on our politicians. Those seem to be the only ones that we ever treat with kid gloves, which is very bizarre to me. What's bizarre is that, like, conservatives don't see it. You have gone from, ironically, I hate communism. Communism is the enemy, to Russia's not so bad. Maybe it's actually the Ukrainians that are the problem. Down here. Get to this. All right. Here is the conversation I was talking about. Now, I'm going to introduce you to somebody that I admire here. This is Dave Smith. That's not who I admire. This is Dave Smith up here. He's a libertarian comedian, though he's mostly like political commentary now. And right next to him, this is a name that you've heard me say a bunch. This is Bill Browder. So Bill Browder is the reason for the Magnitsky Act. By the way, we just had an announcement from Jeanine Pirro yesterday about forget the guy's name, the gang leader. What was his name that they have now announced, like, that they're going after using the Magnitsky Act. So Bill Browder here was an American dual citizen. He was also a citizen of the UK. I think his US citizenship he has renounced. I think he's a UK citizen. But he was over working in the financial markets in the UK, and then he was assigned to Russia, and he found all of these gaps in the Russian market that he was able to take advantage of, where he was able to buy up specifically shares in oil companies that were severely undervalued. And then when the rest of the world caught on, the price of his shares that he had purchased exploded, and Russia came in overnight and just took them. They just stole them from him. And his lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky, went and filed a lawsuit against the Russian government and exposed their corrupt practices, where they just steal money from people who have found holes in their financial market. Well, then Magnitsky was thrown in prison, and he was tortured and eventually killed, while Bill Browder went on the run. Russia puts out a red notice on Bill Browder, which basically says to every other country, hey, this person is a fugitive on the run. We have a red notice. This is urgent. If they come to your country, you are to detain them and send them back. Bill Browder got the ear of some Republicans, namely John McCain, and Democrats, and they passed the Magnitsky Act almost unanimously, if not unanimously, here in the United States, basically saying that when countries like Russia don't act in good faith, we do not have to comply with their red notices, and there's other parts of that allow us to work with these other countries to fight against corruption. Bill Browder is also the name that they brought to Don Jr. at the Trump Tower meeting when they said, we will trade you dirt for Hillary Clinton if you give us Bill Browder. So what you're going to have here is Dave Smith, a libertarian comedian, is about to call Bill Browder, who is so smart he exposed the entire Russian system and was then able to get legislation passed that effectively hurts countries like Russia. Dave Smith is going to accuse him of, one, not knowing what he's talking about, and two, having a low IQ, which is fascinating. Bill Browder is, whatever you want to say about him, he is a hero. In my views, he's one of the most impactful citizens in at least in my lifetime. And you're going to have Dave Smith. Maybe he doesn't know who Bill Browder is, but Dave Smith is going to try and denigrate this man so that Dave Smith can say, like, maybe we should just let Putin have what he has.
And it's like, I'm just kind of disgusted by the tone of this entire discussion. I mean, it's like as if we're debating Sydney Sweeney or something like that, but I got a general and a professional here who are, what are we doing? You're just trying to insult Vladimir Putin, insult Russia. It's like the most childish, immature, just taunting. There's an actual...
I don't think he knows who Bill Browder is. Like, literally, Vladimir Putin has been trying to kill this man for like 20, 25 years. This man has been on the run in hiding for like 20 plus years. And he's like, you guys just want to say mean things about Putin? In all fairness, one, yeah. Two, if anybody can say mean things about Putin, I think Bill Browder, it's warranted.
War going on right now where hundreds of thousands of people have been dying. And there's a meeting coming up between the two leaders of the United States and Russia. As I said before, 90% of the world's stockpile of nuclear weapons. Let's all take this down a notch. Vladimir Putin has at least signaled recently that he maybe is open to the idea of keeping the Donbass region, Donetsk and Luhansk, of getting a corridor to Crimea, and of leaving some of the other territory. Why are we not all pushing in that direction? And why this constant need to make these insults? You know, like, I don't know, I'm an American. I don't see why I inherently have to have beef with the Russian people. I think my government is corrupt. I think their government is corrupt. But
yeah, I could answer that, Dave, because they keep hacking our fucking systems. And they try and get themselves involved in our elections. And they pay people to spread Russian propaganda. You don't have to hate them. You can dislike them strongly, Dave. But this idea that, like, this is propaganda to get us to hate Putin, dude, he's involved in everything. He has a stated goal. Well, like, the same people that are like this, the same people, and Dave isn't part of this, in all fairness, but the people are always saying, like, they chant death to America in Iran. What the fuck do you think Russia wants with the United States? You don't think they have a stated goal to remove us as a world superpower? You don't think they have a stated goal to divide us to the place where we are now, where now, like, we can't even tell that Russia is our enemy? We're taking, like, kitty gloves to Russia now, our actual enemy, the ones that are actually attacking us. Like, Dave will go hard on China all day long, but Russia? let's treat Russia with kid gloves.
To sit here and be like, you guys are a gas station with nothing. The Russian people have a great culture and a great history. Obviously, the Soviet Union was a menace and we had a real problem with them, but the Soviet Union's been gone for many decades at this point. And I just find that the kind of nature of this just...
Yeah. What was the problem with the Soviet Union? It appears that what he's saying is the Soviet Union was a problem when they were communist. But now that they don't claim to be communist anymore and they do the exact same fucking things, invading other countries in Europe, when they do the exact same thing and break their treaties, it's not a problem because at least they're not communist treaty breakers.
Insulting back and forth to be beneath the magnitude of this conversation. It is undeniable that the West did a lot to provoke this conflict. It's just undeniable. Our CIA director through all of Joe Biden's term, Bill Burns, was the one who wrote the Niet means Niet memo, who warned Condoleezza Rice, do not keep pushing in this direction. And we continued pushing regardless. It's resulted in this catastrophe. Like I said before, Pierce,
when he talks about pushing, though, just so we're clear what Dave Smith is saying that we kept pushing, meaning that there were members of NATO that pushed us to include Ukraine in NATO, and we said no. We have said no the entire time. This expansion talking point where we told them that NATO would not expand westward 1 inch. One, we didn't have the authority to speak for NATO. That's first. And two, there was no agreed upon deal. It was one guy said it. We cannot control whether or not other NATO countries want Ukraine in, but guess what? Most of them do, and Ukraine's not in NATO because of us, because we actually did hold to that deal. This is the irony here. Like now he's saying, oh, you know what? This is just two sides. Things got a little heated. We both went too far. Can we not agree to just settle it? I don't think that's what happened, Dave. Like, we're equal with them because we didn't stop other countries from suggesting that Ukraine be included in NATO. That's the same, like, that's on the same level as invading Ukraine. All right.
Not absolving Vladimir Putin of any responsibility. He launched this war and he's responsible for the destruction. But for God's sake, Pierce, you start this at the beginning asking, like, but what's the actual plan? Like, what's the military plan for how you can evict the Russians? Nobody here has anything. So what do you want to do? Let's try to negotiate an end to this so people stop dying. It is the best case scenario. And it's our only chance to get out of this at this point is if we can work out some deal. So for God's sake, let's try to push toward that. No, with all of these wars, Pierce, you know, all the wars over the last 20.
Can I be clear? I don't think Dave is a Russian shill. I don't think Dave is a paid propagandist. I don't, like, if Benny Johnson were doing this, it would be far more definitive. It would be far more emotionally driven. Dave is a libertarian, and this is another example of like where sometimes your ideology can get in the way of the right answer. What Dave is like a anti-interventionalist. Dave doesn't think we should intervene anywhere, and I largely agree with him here. I largely agree that we shouldn't intervene anywhere, but I also agree that we should hold to our commitments. And if everybody else that we've made a commitment with is holding to their end of the bargain, I don't think we should abandon them just because now times get hard. Like, we can't, as America, we can't say like, hey, NATO, we got your back, or Ukraine, we've got your back. And then when it goes on too long, we're like, you know what? We no longer have your back anymore. Because NATO gave up a lot. NATO literally gave up their nuclear weapons on the back of a promise from the United States that we would protect them against Russia. That's why Ukraine doesn't have nuclear weapons right now. They gave them back to Russia. That was part of the deal. And we said, look, we'll take care of you. We'll make sure that Russia doesn't invade. So Ukraine's ability to defend themselves relied on an agreement that they made with us. So I understand Dave's ideology here is anti-interventionalist, but the problem I have with libertarians in general and a lot of people who are ideologically driven is that you can't just overnight change the channel or flip the script. You can't just overnight say, oh, this is what we do now, because you're going to leave people hanging. And when you leave people hanging, it makes you less trusted. It makes you a far worse partner. And I think that that's what we're seeing in the world right now. Most countries don't want to do business. They're not in the United States business. Almost every country, if they could get away from the United States, they would. So they're trying. They're starting to build their economies differently. They're doing everything they can not to rely on the United States. Our closest trading partners, Canada, is doing this. They are U.S. proofing themselves because the United States is proving right now to be an unreliable partner, and all signs point to they're going to try authoritarianism. They're going to try and keep this the status quo. They're going to cheat the elections. They're going to exert power when they don't have it. They're going to test the limits of the Constitution. The rest of the world is looking at us and going, "No, thanks. We'd like to go in a different direction." So I do think that Dave here, and I actually like Dave Smith a lot of times. I think Dave and I are going to agree a significant percentage of the time. But this is his ideology right now speaking, and not reality. You can't. The reality is that like we have an agreement here, and the other reality is like Russia's not going to stop here. Russia never stops. He's going to get upset here in a minute because they're going to bring up Neville Chamberlain, and just so we have the history on there. The reason that people bring up Neville Chamberlain is as Hitler expanded outside of Germany. The UK was concerned, and they had him sit down with Neville Chamberlain, and basically what they said, it was appeasement. Neville Chamberlain said, "No more, don't go any further, Hitler," and he's like, "All right, fine, I won't go any further." And then they basically made a peace agreement. And during that time of the peace agreement, the UK took a breath, like all the other countries took a breath, and Germany ramped up. They used that break to ramp up their military forces. And then when the time came, they just invaded again, and the UK was underprepared. That was part of the criticism from the people in the United States when it came to joining World War II, is because they said, "Look, what did you guys do? What are you doing?" It was obvious appeasement obviously wasn't going to work, and why weren't you watching? Why weren't you watching that he was building up his military while you guys all took a break? Now you're fucked. Now we're in a situation where we have to come and try and help save the day here. We're even going to have to get those pesky communists in Russia to come save the day. So what people are warning of is that they believe Putin is very similar to Hitler, and that there's a history of appeasement not working. And Dave thinks that appeasement will work. I don't know what will or will not work. I understand Dave's argument here that maybe we should try something different. But I do think we know enough about Vladimir Putin that like every time we've drawn a line in the sand for Vladimir Putin, he steps over it every single time. I don't think that this is a good actor. I don't think we should say to Vladimir Putin like that he deserves appeasement or that appeasement is the right step here.
25 years of my life. It's always like the propaganda keeps on moving and moving and moving. There's a lot of bluster about who the good guys and who the bad guys are. But when you start the program by asking a simple question like, what is the exit strategy here? What is the plan? No one really has anything. No one has anything other than maybe we could keep sending weapons and money in, and this slow grind of people dying will continue. And Vladimir Putin will then at the end of that take the territory he wants. Let's try.
I agree with that. I do agree with that nobody has a very good plan. I don't think Biden presented a good plan. I don't think Harris presented a good plan. I certainly think Trump's plan is to just like suck Vladimir Putin's dick. I don't think that that's helpful. But I do agree with that. There doesn't seem to be a plan. I think that the plan should be, and I think Bill Browder is somebody you should talk to here, economic sanctions. The only place you're really going to hurt Putin is in the wallet, because the only way to get his people to turn against him are going to be if they're suffering. And that sucks.
Try to negotiate an end to this nightmare that never needed to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what Neville Chamberlain did.
Shut up. Just the dumbest. Like, what are you, 8?
This is a new Republican response today. I'm going to show you more clips like this. There's this new thing Republicans are doing where if they don't want to talk about something, they're just like, shut up. Shut up. You can't talk about that. This is a perfect time to bring up Neville Chamberlain. It's overused, but this is exactly the time you should bring up Neville Chamberlain.
IQ, Neville Chamberlain. That's right. Anybody ever arguing against war is always Neville Chamberlain. That is the one and only lesson of history, that appeasement never works and aggression is always right. Why don't you take some of the lessons from...
Appeasement doesn't work with a dictator. You obviously don't know Vladimir Putin.
Appeasement, we appease dictators all over the planet right now. I just said something that I actually meant, that I think was more than just surface level, and your response is with the dumbest like slogan. We appease dictators all over the world. We overthrow democratically elected governments and prop up dictators. What are you even talking?
I don't think that's appeasement. There is appeasement. Like we're doing appeasement with Netanyahu right now. It's fucking crazy to me because again, I don't hate Dave Smith. Dave Smith has been really fucking right about Israel. And Dave Smith can't recognize that like there's not a big difference between Putin and Netanyahu. We're doing appeasement with Netanyahu right now. That's what we're doing. Is it working, Dave? Dave, you're critical of Israel every single day. It's probably what you're most famous for. You were like relatively famous, and now you're really fucking famous because of your understanding that like we're doing appeasement in Israel. I just don't get what he's doing here. He's arguing for appeasement for Putin, but against appeasement for Netanyahu. Very strange.
About.
All right, let me get shit. Did I have that other one? Let me get to Bill Browder. There we go. Here's Bill Browder's response now. There's going to be a little overlap here.
Let's try to negotiate an end to this nightmare that never needed to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what Neville Chamberlain did.
I'll
Shut up. Just the dumbest, like, what are you, 80 IQ, Neville Chamberlain? That's right. Anybody ever arguing against war is always Neville Chamberlain. That is the one and only lesson of history, that appeasement never works.
Just a reminder, Jen wants me to remind you, we do have a gift goal every day. Or I'm not supposed to say that. We do have a goal today to stay funded. It is not updated for some reason. Oh, it is updated. So anything you do to help us knock out that gift goal, we've got the pay links above me and to the side. And I'll read anything that you send.
Works, and aggression is always right. Why don't you take some of the lessons from...
Appeasement doesn't work with a dictator. You obviously don't know Vladimir Putin.
Appeasement, we appease dictators all over the planet right now. I just said something that I actually meant that I think was more than just surface level, and your response is with the dumbest like slogan. We appease dictators all over the world. We overthrow democratically elected governments and prop up dictators. What are you even talking about?
You're using all these ad hominem attacks, but basically we're in a
it's
war.
Not an ad hominem. What are you talking about?
You're talking 80 IQ. That's a bunch of nonsense. You obviously don't know the issues.
I'm saying your argument. I'm saying the argument is that of a person with an 80 IQ.
You don't know the issues. You obviously are not educated on the issues.
I got to applaud Bill Browder for staying and waiting through that. Again, this is a person who has been hunted by Vladimir Putin. If anybody knows the evils of Vladimir Putin, it's Bill Browder. And he sits there patiently and remains calm while, again, a comedian is like, you guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't know how to deal with Vladimir Putin. If anybody knows, like on an intimate level, what it's like to deal with Vladimir Putin, it's this guy. This is one of the most uniquely qualified humans to be able to have this discussion. I don't know if Dave knows who he is.
The reason why Vladimir Putin is at war is for his own personal survival. He's not going to back off from this war. To then appease him at this moment, to give him Ukraine is just a complete...
You're not giving him anything. It's not yours to give. He took it and you can't get it back. Deal with that reality. Sorry.
That's called appeasement. It's like, you see, this is exactly what I fine, Dave. If you don't like Neville Chamberlain, explain the fucking distance between you and Neville Chamberlain here. Because Neville Chamberlain went back to the UK and was like, hey guys, look how great I am. I negotiated this deal. And yeah, we had to give away land that, by the way, guess whose land it wasn't? It wasn't the UK's land either. This is a direct, like almost one-to-one comparison. He's doing exactly, he's advocating exactly what Neville Chamberlain did. He took a dictator, he conceded land that they didn't own, and he's like, how could you compare me to Neville Chamberlain here? Because it's exactly the same. That's how.
You could impose crippling sanctions on him. You could give the Ukrainians the
sanctions, more sanctions.
And then you could negotiate from a position of strength. You don't negotiate from a position of weakness, which is what's being...
There's Joe Biden's plan. We could end the war with
you don't have to call it
sanctions.
Joe Biden's.
We're years...
You don't have to call it Joe Biden's anything. You don't have to politicize logic.
I'm not politicizing anything.
Yeah,
I'm saying this
Joe
is
Biden. You're saying Joe Biden.
Okay, now let me respond. Yeah. Yes, he was, I'm not sure if you're familiar, he was the former president of the United States, and this was...
Dave's getting absolutely fucking wrecked right now. And so he's falling back into like, I'm a comedian, I'm going to make a joke right now. Of course that's what you just did. He told you, he said like, here's what we should do. And you're like, Joe Biden. Joe Biden. That's what you have. That's the only argument that Dave Smith can offer right now. Otherwise, he's like, I'm just Neville Chamberlain, but I'm funnier.
Was his plan. We ran this experiment. It did not work. It led to hundreds of thousands of people more dying, and now we're here.
The experiment that we ran is to give the Ukrainians
I'm sorry.
weapons.
I'm sorry. Just I got
give some
I'm sorry.
weapons and not the weapons that they need.
Fair enough. Can I?
Yeah. Anyways, shout out to Bill Browder. Somebody correctly noticed that the Republican would not shut the fuck up even when it wasn't their turn anymore. And the one expert there, he's like, I have to talk over the expert here. This was this was on CNN. This is, I'm trying to remember her name, Cup. Her last name's Cup. I don't remember. This is the CNN panel, which I'm really starting to enjoy more and more. I feel like they're bringing on better guests. This is the discussion we have between people paid to defend Democrats and paid to defend Republicans. Here's how they covered it on CNN.
Just let me get a thought out. One of the first things Russia did after it invaded Ukraine illegally was have the Ministry of Culture review all the museums to make sure that they were sufficiently pro-Russian exceptionalism.
SE Cup, that's what it is.
It took over around 40 museums in Ukraine. It turned one museum in Mariupol, Ukraine, into the museum of Andrei Zvanov, who was Stalin's propaganda minister. This stuff happens all the time in totalitarian and authoritarian countries that want to whitewash history for the benefit of propaganda. It's not about highlighting, putting one thing in this corner versus that corner. It's the difference between history and propaganda. And museums should not be in the business.
So should we wipe out
Columbus,
Congressman?
Okay, there's a reason I wanted to show that is because that's exactly what we're doing now. First, I want to say, James, thank you for joining the Dollar Train. Appreciate you there. As a reminder to everybody as we're going, I'll try and read these as they come in, but we are a bit away from the goal, and if we can knock that out by the end, that'd be great. The reason I bring this up is I was reading this article from NBC News, and that you see dictatorships like Russia under Vladimir Putin, that when you get into times of war, they go back and they revisit history and they try and rewrite history. And they especially history that might be similar to what's happening in that current time. The all-out war by Republicans on American history will be studied in the history books for centuries to come. Ironically, what they did is they have accused people of rewriting history by including true history. And now you have Republicans legitimately advocating that we do not teach people real history in this country, only the good parts. This current White House now, as we are entering this the obvious stage of fascism where we're at now, we're at the stage where by the midterms we're going to know. By next year we're going to know. Like, are they going to full on do fascism or not? We're about to find out. They're testing it. They're putting the military in the streets, which of course they're not supposed to be doing. The military is not allowed to police American citizens unless there is some sort of, if we're under martial law, which we've not declared. The White House is conducting an expansive review of the Smithsonian's museum exhibitions, materials and operations ahead of America's 250th anniversary to ensure they align with Trump's view of history. Ironically, on the 250th anniversary of America, we are going to have a UFC fight on the White House lawn, which admittedly I'm very excited about, as the UFC completed a deal with Paramount, Trump's new best friend, and it will be streamed on Paramount, the company who just fired Stephen Colbert and who Trump has been going at repeatedly. This initiative aims to ensure alignment with the president's directive to celebrate American exceptionalism, remove divisive or partisan narratives, and restore confidence in our shared cultural institutions. It directs officials at 8 museums, including the National Museum of American History and the National Museum of African American History and Culture, to turn over information about their current exhibits and plans to commemorate the country's 250th anniversary in the next 30 days. Within 120 days, museums should begin implementing content corrections where necessary, replacing divisive or ideologically driven language with unifying, historically accurate, and constructive descriptions across placards, wall didactics, digital displays, and other public-facing materials. Additional museums will be reviewed in phase 2, the letter said. The review, which the letter said will include on-site observational visits, is aimed at making sure the museums reflect the unity, progress, and enduring values that define the American story, and reflect the president's executive order calling for restoring truth and sanity to American history. That order, which was signed on March 27th, calls for removing improper ideology from Smithsonian museums and the National Zoo. This could not be more ideological. They are legitimately saying that all ideology outside of whatever the fuck this ideology is going to be removed from our museums. And look, you guys you can say that you like that. You can say whatever you want. You are little bitches who love daddy fascism. You love daddy forcing your views. And the reason that you all love this, and the reason that none of you bitches, I'll say it again, ever come up here to debate is because you're too fucking stupid. Okay? That's the real reason. You actually can't defend this. And the reason that you want Trump to do this is because this removes the obligation for you to learn anything at all. You get to continue to be fucking stupid, and the government backs it up. The government's like, actually, these stupid people know all that you need to know. They don't need to know other things. We'll tell you what you need to know. We'll just confirm all of your beliefs all the time. That makes you happy. That makes you comfortable. And it makes you really fucking good order takers. And when push comes to shove and your finances start dropping, like we see now, like when people start losing their jobs, when people can't afford homes, when prices start going up, what they will do is this administration is going to tell you, hey, you know what? That's the consequences. We're fighting this war for you. We have to win this ideological war, and then we'll take care of the economy. And they're not fighting it for you. They're literally fighting it for, if you are not a Christian nationalist, they are not fighting for you. If you don't want to remove, if you don't want to remove rights from people who have been granted rights post-Constitution, they're not speaking for you. If you're just like a regular conservative who has conservative Christian values, even those of you who are just like, I really don't like trans people, they're not even fighting for you either. They're fighting for a handful of authoritarians who want total control, and they're handing it over to them with your support. And you should be embarrassed, but you're not smart enough to be embarrassed. Why? Because the people that you listen to tell you that you're already smart enough. That's why none of you ever come up here. The offer stands every single day. Every single day the offer stands. And every time you guys sit in the comments and you cry. And you know why you do it. You do it because you can't do anything else. You can't have a conversation with somebody. You are incapable of proving your points. The only thing you can do is try and tell the people in the audience that I'm a fucking idiot. But the crazy thing is every time you do it, you guys show up and you argue. Everybody that's open-minded, that's not on my side or your side, anybody who's open-minded sees every day these people say the same things about him, and yet they can never prove it. They never go up there. And then those open-minded people start reading, and they realize that you're wrong. That I do know what I'm talking about, because I don't put out information that I don't study. And you have the opportunity to not be an idiot too. But your hatred of me, your fear of immigrants, your fear of trans people, your fear of white people becoming a minority stunts your growth intellectually. You have all been stunted by fear. That's why you don't have answers for any of this. That's why I started this show. I showed you the White House. The White House said, stop reading. Just trust Trump. Don't look at economic data. Trust Trump. They are literally telling you every day when confronted with data that's inconvenient to trust Trump. They don't say, here's the data that we can refute. It's trust Trump. And then you show up here and you get mad at me. Why? Because I don't trust Trump. Why? Because I'm not a cucky little bitch. That's why. And I'll say it to you each and every day. You are all cucky little bitches. And if you're not, prove it. Come up and just explain what I'm getting wrong. And I'm happy. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong. I would love to end a show and be like, you know what? I was wrong about that Trump guy. He's not fascist. There's actually solid statistical analysis that says that this tariff war is working, or that it will work. I'm so glad that somebody showed me the data that I'm clearly missing. But no, it's this guy's an idiot. This guy lives with his parents. This guy's bald. This guy's a beta. So much soy. You just like confident dummies. And then that's why you don't have any sort of arguments. The review, which the letter said will include on-site observational visits, is aimed at making sure the museums reflect the unity. Oh, I read that. That order. Oh, I read all that. Okay, I finished it. So that's what we have. Weird how, like, as we get more authoritarian, we do exactly what Russia is doing. We just get rid of any history that is inconvenient. We need our kids going to school believing that America never does anything wrong, and that Donald Trump does nothing wrong. I think this is the response from Republicans now. This is the defense. I just want to be clear. This is how they are now going to defend deleting history. Part of it is because this administration is getting rid of like our failures. They want it, like the times when America has fucked up. They don't really want that in the museum. They want the museum to be rah, rah, rah. So it's only the successes.
Look, every country has horrible parts of its history. I mean, you can find me one that doesn't, and I'll throw you a bouquet.
Okay.
I think what the president is looking at, and I don't know this personally, but what are we going to highlight? Are we going to highlight that this young man who is probably going to win to be the mayor of the city of New York came over here as an immigrant, and now he may be the mayor of the city of New York? Find me another country where that happens in 2025. It is not a common thing. So are we going to highlight that part, or are we going to highlight 200 years ago what we did to Indians to take over the state of California? I'm not saying
both. What you highlight are things that stand out, whether they are good or whether they are bad. That's the point of highlights, right? Any of you that watch sports, are all sports highlights good? Well, it depends on who you're rooting for, right? When you see a 90-yard pick six, that's pretty fucking cool if you're if it's your team running it back. But if it's your dude that threw the interception and then somebody tripped over their feet and they couldn't tackle him, not great. Not good, but it's a highlight. Why? Because it's different. It stands out. It's a time in history where something different or exceptional happened. That's how history should be recorded. History should be recorded of things that are unusual. So yeah, if history wants to record the DNC primary win by Mamdani, that is significant because it is somebody who was foreign born, who ran on a policy that most of America said was deeply unpopular and couldn't win, and yet he won convincingly. And it's an observation in a time in history where the narrative of what Americans want didn't match with the way that they voted. So yeah, is it significant? I don't know. It might be significant. We'll find out if he wins, which he probably will. Then it's significant. But this I did like, what are we going to highlight? Highlight the highlights, you silly sausage.
We should whitewash it.
I'm just
but
asking,
what are we going to show
why
off?
is this an either or? I mean, do you really
because it's
want
what you're going to highlight? You always highlight something.
But do you really want a history in which you ignore
what
what happened to
Native
Native Americans in this country?
You want to walk into the Air and Space Museum and talk about the two Challengers that exploded, or do you want to talk about?
You read about it. You
read
about it there.
But it could be over.
I went to NASA. I saw both. Both. Yes, when you talk about our space program, you should talk about the space shuttles that exploded, the Challenger. You should talk about the Apollo 10 mission. You should talk about Apollo 13. There was one of the best movies. That was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. Was Apollo 13 with Tom Hanks. It's a great movie. Yeah, you highlight the things that went well and the things didn't. When I was at NASA, I learned about the failures too. That's part of the story. Ironically, from the party that's like, everybody in this country is too pussified. Nobody wants to work hard anymore. Nobody wants to overcome adversity. Yeah, maybe don't show them a history then where people weren't overcoming adversity and where people don't fuck up and have like a redemption arc. They just want to beat off to America because they don't want to admit that there's some shit in America that is bad that they don't want to address. They just don't want to address that, like, their ancestors were racist, or that their ancestors were evil, or that they kept people as property, or that they put people in concentration camps, or that they didn't give women the rights to vote. They just don't want to address that because they're so desperate to view their ancestors as heroes. That's what conservatism is. So yeah, let's just lie to everybody. Let's make sure we never learn from any of our mistakes. That's the best way to learn from your mistakes, right? Just pretend they didn't happen. Don't analyze how these things happened. Just ignore them and they won't happen again. I think that's what we've all learned from mistakes. If you make a mistake, don't think about it ever again. And if anybody talks to you about it ever again, pretend it didn't happen. And in that way, you don't make mistakes. That's legitimately how Donald Trump has lived his entire life. And that's how this Republican Party operates now.
On the left, yes, but it could be over in the left-hand corner. You want to walk in and say, we were the first country to put a person on the moon. We were the first country to do this. And yes, then in the corner, you talk about the things that we screwed up. That's the truth.
This is very Russia-coded.
Yeah.
You know, the first
I didn't say to
thing,
erase it. It's what you highlight versus what you
yeah,
I'm not saying you should
another word
disappear.
for what you're saying is propaganda. And
so you want to talk about the Columbia blow?
I'm not saying that we should be like Russia. I'm just saying we should hide history that's inconvenient, and we should shape our narrative in a way that we never look bad. But I'm not doing propaganda. Danielle said, fascism's here. We don't have to wait and see.
Up. Let's walk into the Air and Space Museum and talk
so
about
we never
Columbia
do it
blowing
again.
But what about the
thanks, Dondrell. Appreciate you, my friend. All right. And someone came through here. Glenna said, love what you do. Thanks, Glenna. I appreciate that. Okay, let's move to I want to talk about Epstein because I just don't want Trump off the hook on Epstein. We'll do Epstein and then we'll get to DC and then that'll probably shut it down. Sandra said RTP, thank you. Izzy as well. I'll update that in just a second. Let's get to Epstein. First of all, I'd like to say, can we just bring back like 2021 JD Vance, the one that like didn't suck Donald Trump's dick for a hobby when he tweeted out, remember when we learned that our wealthiest and most powerful people were connected to a guy who ran a literal child sex trafficking ring, and then that guy died mysteriously in a jail, and now we just don't talk about it? I want this JD Vance back, please. Can we get this one back? Not the one who gets up there and is like, Donald Trump has demanded full transparency while not releasing this. You guys, where's my MAGA here? Do you guys care that all of these folks in the administration keep saying that Trump demanded full transparency? When they ask, like, why don't you release these? Their response is, well, Trump said he wants full transparency, but then you don't release them. We want to know if you want full transparency, why not release them? I'm just wondering if we have Republicans here willing to answer that question. How are you guys dealing with this on a day-to-day basis? We don't deal with it. We just point out that Joe Biden didn't do it, and that's our way to not have to address what's happening right now. That's basically our entire ideology as MAGA now. Anything that we don't like is Joe Biden, and anything that we don't want to talk about, we will just talk about Joe Biden, which is literally what Trump instructed you to do. He went on TV and he just told you guys, like, hey, if they ever ask you questions that you don't like, just talk about Obama and Biden. And you're like, yeah, we're already doing that. We've learned for a long time ago that we don't know how to answer questions about you because you're a dipshit and nothing you do makes any fucking sense. So what we do is we just complain about Joe Biden the whole time. And you're seeing it in the chat here. Like, I asked the chat, like, do you guys care that they tell you they want full transparency? And you're like, we do not. We do not care. We are cucky little bitches. We are going to do as programmed, and we are now going to talk about Joe Biden. And then there we go. There's somehow Joe Biden's name's in the chat like a million times. We haven't mentioned this guy one time, mostly because he's not president, and none of this is relevant to him. But there's Joe Biden in the chat making his regular appearance. This is from K-Files from CNN. It's incredible stuff. I know there's a lot going on, and I don't think that what Trump is doing right now in DC is to distract from Epstein. But I do think the fact that it is distracting from Epstein is why you see like the acceleration and why you see them doubling down. This is the first time that Trump has been able to get away from something that is damaging. The reality is what's happening in DC isn't going to damage him that much politically because people are afraid, especially middle-aged white people. We're all afraid. Okay, so when you talk about the government sending in the National Guard to keep people safe, most people aren't going to go, how safe were they? Most people are going to go like, yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that. I want people to be more safe. These hoodlums out there in DC are causing all these problems. These teenagers are running amok, and they need to be stopped. And so we got to send in the National Guard. It's not like politically, it's not a huge loser for him because most people aren't really going to look into what's happening. Most people don't know that. One, this exposes the fact that Donald Trump could have sent in the National Guard on January 6th and didn't. And just a shout out to you dumb fuck Republicans who have been arguing with me for 5 years that Donald Trump could do nothing on January 6th. And yet now we know for sure he can do whatever the fuck he wants with the National Guard in D.C. And he is in charge of D.C. And all it took was an executive order for him to go into D.C. with the National Guard. He didn't need permission from the Speaker of the House. He didn't need permission from the mayor. He just did it. Right. But we must have changed the law since January 6th. Like, forget that part of it. He likes this because it's distracting from Epstein. But I don't think that's why he did it. He did it because this is part of Project 2025. He did it because they're trying to do fascism. And there's no gray area now. There's no wiggle room here. They're going to try fascism. They've started trying it. They're doing the fascism. They're doing the takeover. And it's just going to be a matter of if we get enough Americans to stand against it. If enough Americans come out against Trump and it's no longer possible for him to take power without a revolution against him, he's just going to keep doing it. And he's going to do it step by step until you guys draw a line. And apparently, we're not at a place yet where Republicans are willing to draw a line. Taking powers from other branches of government, that's not a problem. Putting our military on the streets, that's not a problem. Ignoring due process, that doesn't seem to be a problem. Unfortunately, what's going to have to happen is that Trump's going to have to do something that hurts white people for anybody to fucking care. That's just the reality. Once Trump starts doing things that hurt like suburban white people, then that's when you'll see the outrage. It sucks. It sucks that that's true, but it is true. There are people who will claim that they care about what Trump's doing and they'll do nothing. Then there are people who will pretend nothing is happening. But as soon as it starts affecting suburban white folks, that's when Trump will lose his power. That's what happens in every one of these dictatorships. Once it affects like the majority of the people, whoever it is in that country that like have more of the privilege, once it starts affecting them, that's when you see these authoritarian governments get pushed back, and that's when the authoritarian loses control. We'll see how long it takes. Right now, you guys seem pretty happy with how this is going.
A K-file in-depth CNN investigation. Donald Trump has long claimed that he was no fan of Jeffrey Epstein. But K-file's extensive reporting now shows the two shared a close social circle for nearly 2 decades, from private jet flights to high-profile parties, and that's only part of the story. Photos, flight logs, and court records help reveal how long their personal history really was. K-file's Andrew Kaczynski is here with all of that, and it is some extensive research and reporting that you all did. You've chronicled this relationship between Trump and Epstein from the 80s to, mid-2000s is obviously when their contact probably cut off. What's the most striking thing that you find that kind of contradicts?
Daniel said you ignored Biden had the files and didn't release them, glazing over it. Also, Trump can't release the files of ongoing investigations, protocol. First of all, I did not ignore the fact that Biden had them and didn't release them. I've addressed this multiple times on multiple platforms. I literally address this almost every day in my life. I think that Joe Biden, I think that there's two possible, there's a lot of possible explanations, but I think that the two most possible explanations are either one, Joe Biden didn't really know what was in them because it's not like the president on day one gets briefed about the Epstein files. You would have to ask for that investigation. So I think that either one, he just didn't care, or two, he knew that there was stuff in there that would potentially cause problems for either him or for our security apparatus. I think knowing that Jeffrey Epstein was a FBI informant, and then the allegations that he was working with Mossad and he worked with the CIA, I think that there and given Joe Biden's propensity to side with Netanyahu and overlook war crimes by Netanyahu and overlook the treatment of the Palestinians by Netanyahu, I think that if what we think is in the Epstein files, including ties to Israel, if that was in there, I do think that it's possible that Joe Biden would have chosen not to release them. So I think those are the two most likely scenarios: is that either one, he didn't really know or care, which, by the way, you guys have to figure it out. Was he a mastermind or was he a bumbling idiot? Because the way you guys talk about Joe Biden, of course, he didn't know at all what was going on. So why would you expect him to release the files? Like now he's somehow like some master puppeteer. You guys have to figure out what you think of him, and then you've got to follow that line of logic. If you think he was a bumbling idiot that didn't know what was going on, then shut the fuck up about him not releasing the Epstein files. It has nothing to do with him. However, if you think he's in on it, then give me a better reasoning for him not releasing them, other than it would protect the security assets. Because it's a win for him. Nobody on the left gives a fuck about Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton. So that would be a political win for Joe Biden. If Joe Biden was going through those documents and it showed that Bill Clinton was all over those documents and he released them, he would be a hero. You guys would have to admit it. You guys would be forced to admit that Joe Biden was the first president in history to be transparent about the Epstein files. That's a win. There are literally no negative consequences for Joe Biden to release those if it implicates Bill Clinton or any Democrats, to be honest. And there's no evidence that I've seen that Obama was involved in it at all, or Joe Biden. So that would free him up. That would free up all 8 years of him as vice president, and that would free up him as president. That would have been a massive win for him. So your logic doesn't seem to extend the same way that it does with Trump. Now let's come up with some ideas of maybe why Trump didn't release them. Okay. Maybe he didn't release them to protect victims. Fair enough. What's the solution for that? Black out the victims' names. Okay, so now that we know we can black out the victims' names, now why isn't he releasing them? You say because there's an ongoing investigation. That's fine. You don't have to release the stuff from the ongoing investigation. You can release the files from the previous investigation. Give me a reason why. Give me one legitimate reason why Donald Trump wouldn't release these files. Most of you have been claiming that he can't. You've been saying, oh, the courts are holding them back, which isn't true. That's just the grand jury testimony, which, by the way, Trump does not have the ability to release. Trump can't force the grand jury testimony to be released, but the grand jury testimony is based on all that evidence that he can release. So now I've given you some plausible reasons why Joe Biden didn't release them. Now give me a better reason why Donald Trump didn't release them. Anything? Dragon Wizard said, all glory to the Hypno Trump. Thank you. Good question, though, Daniel. I appreciate you asking that.
This Donald Trump is no fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, so what we found, it really actually paints a portrait starting, as you said, in the 1980s up to the mid-2000s. It paints this portrait of a long, enduring friendship. I think there were several associates who have called them best friends. Epstein himself said that he was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years. And we looked through these hundreds of hours of video, hundreds of photos. We went through documents from court files, exhibits from lawsuits. So we really chronicled this whole relationship through time. And one thing that I found really interesting was these flight logs from Epstein's private jet, which were part of that investigation into Ghislaine Maxwell. And they really tell you a story of how close these guys are. Look at just a few of them. This is in 1993, for instance. This is the same year that we found as well that Jeffrey Epstein attended Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. Trump flew on that plane 4 times with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell between Palm.
I do think this is I'm trying to be nicer to some of you guys, but this is why I call some of you guys dipshits and incapable of learning new information. I just explained why the files might not have been released. And then I've got more of you in here demanding why the Democrats didn't release the files. I just answered that. It's crazy. This is the thing. It doesn't really matter what I say. You're not listening. You have no ability to listen. It's the reason I'm not doing one of the reasons I'm not doing debates over on Raging Tomato anymore, because I'm tired of being set up with people who literally like can't hear the words that I'm saying. And so like I have to argue a straw man all the time. You guys ask questions and then you don't wait for the answers, or you don't hear the answers. I just answered that. How the fuck do you expect me? You want me to answer it again so you won't hear it again? And I've answered that question too. Why didn't I care about Epstein before now? I've been very honest about this because I didn't think that there was a list. I still don't think that there's a list. I watched the stuff about Epstein. I knew about Alex Acosta. We brought that up in the first Trump administration. You guys didn't give a fuck. Trump just made Alex Acosta the Secretary of, I think it was Labor, right? Literally, the guy who gave Epstein a sweetheart deal, Trump brought him into the administration. Trump has taken everybody close to Epstein and moved them so they're close to him. And I tried to talk about this, and none of you wanted to care. None of you cared. But during the Biden administration, like, what did I have? What did you want me to do? I wasn't going to focus on the Epstein files. But the reality is that now the reason that I talk about this and the reason that I care is 100% because of the cover-up. I didn't think it was that big of a story, but now I'm confused because you guys ran on this. You guys run on like, let's do this. Trump says I'm going to do it, and now he's not doing it. So there's obviously a cover-up. So I am far more suspicious now than I was before that Donald Trump is involved in this. Somehow, you guys thought this was a big deal until Trump said, stop caring about it. And now you're like, why do you guys care about this? You're too easily manipulated. How did you go from caring to not caring once Trump started hiding the truth from you? Everybody else was hiding the truth, but now the one guy who told you he would tell you the truth is legitimately hiding the truth. Everybody knows he can release them. There's nothing stopping him from releasing these files. The video that they said they lost under his administration, suddenly we have it again. They lost that 10-hour video, and now we just have it. And then when we get it back, it's edited. The reason I care about it now is because every time this administration talks about it, they get caught lying. They keep lying. So now I'm like, oh, there's obviously a cover up here.
Where Mar-a-Lago is and where Epstein also owns a home. Let's fast forward then.
Sorry, and that's a good point too, Danielle. Biden DOJ did release files, and Trump put it in a binder and claimed that he released it and gave it out to a bunch of conservative content creators, and they called it Epstein Files Phase 1, most transparent administration in history. And what they gave those people was what Biden had declassified. So Biden still has done more than Donald Trump, and Donald Trump took credit for what Joe Biden did.
To 1994, Trump flew from Palm Beach to Washington, D.C.
Happy hump day to you,
with
Tanya.
his then wife, Marla Maples, his daughter, Tiffany, and a nanny before they returned to New Jersey that day. In August 1995, just he and Eric were on board with Epstein and Maxwell again. They flew from Palm Beach to Teterboro in New Jersey. And then in January 1997, Trump flew with the pair from Palm Beach to Newark, New Jersey. All of these trips, 8 in total, were documented in logs that I mentioned were from that trial.
You also took a look at what...
Just can you imagine if Joe Biden's name was in those documents once? And by the way, you guys trying to play whataboutism. This is Republicans for you. But anybody in the chat that has followed me for years, did I care about Palestine when Biden and Kamala were in office? Did I criticize Joe Biden and Kamala Harris regarding their stance on Palestine? Chat can answer that question.
Donald Trump himself has said about Jeffrey Epstein. What did you find?
Yeah, that's right. And one of the things that's always been so striking is that quote that he said in 2002 that we found in that New York Magazine article where he said he was a terrific guy, he liked beautiful women just like him. And then that quote where he says he likes many of them on the younger side. That was from an article entitled Jeffrey Epstein, International Money Man of Mystery in New York Magazine. Now, just 2 years later, we were going through Donald Trump's book, and there he had one called How to Get Rich. And then we wrote in his book that somebody named Mysterious Jeffrey had called him, and that you can see it right there. That's the passage from his book. He says Jeffrey calls in, but there's actually a lot of activity between these two in 2004. One of the things that was seized from Jeffrey Epstein's home during that initial investigation to him in the mid-2000s were message pads. And on those message pads, there were two, if you look here, 2 messages from Donald Trump in November of 2004. This is around the time the two of them actually were competing to buy a property in West Palm Beach. Trump ultimately won out.
Yeah, I thought Trump had removed him from Mar-a-Lago, though, and from his life. Here they are communicating.
He beat Epstein, and this is allegedly part of what made their relationship deteriorate.
Yeah, Donald Trump's talked about that as well. Your review also, I mean, you looked also through tons of...
Is bag as if you're not in the YouTube chat, you might want to head over there. They are having an absolute meltdown. This is what they do when they start seeing the connections between Trump and Epstein. It's meltdown city. It is just like a barrage of screaming at how bad I am. This is unbelievable.
Photos and tons of video of Trump and Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell together from Mar-a-Lago to here in Manhattan. Walk us through kind of some of those moments that you found.
Yeah, Kate, and these images, they really speak for themselves. In November 1992, there's an image that a lot of people have seen, and it's of Trump and Epstein, and they're dancing there. You can see with models. I think you can see Ghislaine Maxwell in the background if you look. She was there just a second ago. Just a year later, we had found, or previously, Trump was at...
That's the worst timed yippee ever.
Epstein was at Trump's wedding in 1993. That's the photo there on the left. 1997, you can see in that photo on the right, that's them at a Victoria's Secret Angels event. And then in 1999, this is footage that
Come on. Sully said, everyone, please take care of mental health. Check your neighbors and loved ones. Love y'all. I agree. Daniel said Trump turned him into the FBI, LMAO. Watch this. Was Trump an FBI informant? Watch this, Daniel. We're just gonna... Here, I'll put it up here. You guys are so like, I don't know. You're too easily duped. Trump claims he's never called the FBI. Where is it? There's like an AI overview too, right? Let's do this. Was Trump an FBI informant? Based on available information, there's no evidence to suggest Trump was an FBI informant. Reports indicate that during his time as a casino developer, Trump did contact the FBI to express concerns about organized crime in Atlantic City and offered to cooperate with their efforts. However, this interaction does not equate to him being an informant. It's also important to distinguish between Trump and individuals associated with his 2016 presidential campaign. Some of whom had contact with the FBI informant as part of the agency's investigation into Russian interference. No evidence that says he was an FBI informant, and yet you guys believe it. Why? Because some dumb moron like Laura Loomer's like, hey, he was an FBI informant, and that's all you need. All you needed was for people that you trust to say that, and you ran with it. None of you ever looked it up. But I would love to see the evidence that Donald Trump was an FBI informant and that he was turned in to Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was an FBI informant. Like, that's who the FBI informant was. They already knew what he was doing. Well, one of the big problem that we have here is that we have an FBI who protected Jeffrey Epstein. We need to see those files. We need to know who in the FBI was protecting him. Are those people still in power? What lengths did they go to protect him? Why did they have so much influence over Alex Acosta when Alex Acosta gave him a sweetheart deal? That's what we need to know. But claiming Donald Trump is an FBI informant is silly. You don't have any evidence of that. If Trump is so innocent, why is he rewarding Maxwell, a convicted sex trafficker? Facts. I did see, I don't know if I couldn't verify. I saw this morning multiple outlets reported it, but I looked at their sources and I don't think their sources are good. Not that it's not true. It may be, it may not. But I saw this morning that Maxwell is going to get work release, which is what Epstein did. And then he just abused girls while he was on work release. I don't know if that's true or not. Again, I can't confirm it. But that is being reported by, I think, Raw Story, New York Post had it, MSN had it. There were a couple other places, but they didn't list who their sources were, so I have no idea if that's true.
In some archives, it was Trump and Epstein, and they're actually chatting at a Victoria's Secret fashion show in 1997. He was also photographed with Maxwell at a fashion show. These guys attended a lot of fashion shows together, it looks like. And then
weird. These two middle-aged men were going and looking at younger women. That's weird. Nothing to see here. Sharon Noel said, if Trump is so innocent, why is he... Oh, I read that one. Sorry. And Jerry Mandarin. Good to see you, Jerry Mandarin. Trump cultist tears are quenching my thirst. Good to have your thirst quenched.
And in February of 2000, there was an event in Mar-a-Lago that featured not only Trump, Epstein, and Maxwell, but also Prince Andrew.
Hey, guys, they're in here saying that they can't trust it because it's on CNN again. There we go. Anything, they'll talk about anything but this fat fuck right here. This dirty fat fuck right here who's lying to you every day and making sure you don't get information. And rather than being mad at this fat fuck for lying to you and not giving you the information that you said you wanted for 10 years. Instead of that, you're going to be like, it's CNN, I don't believe it.
Was also at this event, and these images were initially published in the Palm Beach Post in the year 2000. So there's a lot of public appearances, and it definitely undercuts Trump's claim that he was not a fan and they were sort of just distant acquaintances.
So what is the president saying about this?
So we reached out to the White House. We asked them about...
I meant fat PHAT. That's pretty horrific and terrible. It's PHAT. That's what we're calling Trump now. It's PHAT. Fuck.
All of this, and it's on CNN.com. If you read the timeline, it's very extensive. They didn't respond to any of the detailed questions that we sent, but Stephen Chung, who is the communications director for the White House, sent along a statement and said, quote, "The fact is that the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep." So
Donald Trump disagrees with that. It's interesting that the communications director is like, he kicked him out for being a creep. And Trump's like, no. I kicked him out because he kept taking all my young girls from the spa. I wanted them to work for me, and they kept going to work for Epstein. That's what Trump said. Trump didn't say it was about being creepy. Like, how could you accuse Epstein of being creepy if Epstein is hiring girls that you hired? See how that's hard to, like, how do you figure that out? Epstein's a creep because he went after Virginia Giuffre. Where did he go after her? At Mar-a-Lago. Oh, was she there with her dad? No. She worked in the spa. How did Jeffrey Epstein abuse his victims? He started with that. He would make them give massages. That's how all the abuse started. So he found young girls at Mar-a-Lago who were already working in a spa. I hope she wasn't doing massages. Maybe she was. I've seen no evidence that she was. Takes her, pays her, and now that's his masseuse. I would say in this instance, maybe both of them are creeps, but he didn't get kicked out for being a creep. He got kicked out for stealing young girls that were, for some reason, working at the Mar-a-Lago spa.
So it's going to be interesting to see because he says they weren't close. He says he was not a fan, but we continue to just see more and more revelations come out.
Yeah, and we've heard that similar statement from Stephen Chung many times about questions that linger. It's great to see you. Great reporting as always. Thanks, Andrew. Coming up for us.
There we go. Sorry to show CNN. You Republicans, you can open your eyes now. It's over. You're done with that. All right. I want to go into D.C. Trump now has, it's going to get worse, I can only assume, but Trump has put the National Guard and Border Patrol and Homeland Security, probably some IRS. They're just all walking around D.C. doing absolutely nothing. And here's Jeanine Pirro, who is tired of hearing that Washington, D.C. was actually driving crime down because that doesn't fit the narrative. So Janine's just back on Fox News to scream at you for saying things that are accurate.
Anymore. If we have our way, we will anymore. If we have our way, we will be able to make D.C. safe again. And the president's going to do it. And we've got this. Last night, there were 700 federal and local cops on the streets. And this is what the community wants. They want to be able to be safe.
They've polled the community. It's not what the community wants. It's what your friends, your hysterical, rich white friends want
to come to the nation's capital and look at the fabulous museums and the monuments that we have here. And last night there were 43 arrests, and we seized 7 handguns. And every night it's something else. But
taking guns away, huh? Uh-oh.
But this is a message that we're not going to tolerate crime as if that's just the way things go. And I'm tired of hearing that crime is down. It's not down for people who are suffering from violent crime.
By the way, she mentioned that there were 43 arrests. What she didn't mention was, were those arrests for violent crime? No. They set a curfew and then they arrested people for breaking curfew. And then they're like, see, look what we did. Yeah, you're just arresting people for being outside. The thing I hate about Democrats is they lock you down. They try and force you inside. Here's a curfew. And if you don't go inside, we're going to arrest you. Okay. And then they go on and they brag about it. Did they stop any violent crime? No, they didn't. They're just walking around. These poor people, they signed up to serve our country. Most of them didn't sign up to be police, and they're just out here walking the streets doing absolutely fucking nothing. And maybe if they stay late enough at night, they're going to be able to find somebody who broke curfew and arrest them. And then, by the way, for all you Second Amendment lovers, these people who are breaking curfew get arrested, and because DC has strict gun laws, they're taking away their guns too. So not only are they enforcing a curfew saying you don't have the right to be outside when we don't want you outside, they're also taking away people's what you believe should be an unfettered access to a firearm. So I don't know. It's weird that you guys are this is what you're doing now. You're celebrating taking people's guns and locking them inside. We kind of went full circle here, didn't we, Republic? Because you guys don't have an ideology. Your ideology is Trump. Look at these people walking. Like, look at these troops walking around. They could not look more bored. The people, they're walking past. People are in restaurants. No, clearly nobody in this city is afraid. Clearly nobody. There's a couple over here just walking around. They're dressed nicely. Clearly none of these people are too afraid to go out. They're all having dinner. Hey, Jen.
Yeah, it looks terrifying. They look frightened.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I can see the all kinds of scared. So it looks like there's a Jacob. I haven't watched Jacob super closely on YouTube, or anybody else. If you guys disagree with our TV, you can actually come in and talk to them in real time. How you do that is you look at the Venmo username. That's my Discord. Just add me on Discord, and I can bring you up to talk to them.
These are
right now.
These are commenters. These are Twitter users. They don't have anything to say. They're not coming up.
I mean, yeah, typically they don't. I mean, we've invited people many times, and no one actually has the stones to do so. So, if you guys grow up here in the next hour, that's how you can do that. So, we've got, like I said, maybe an hour left. I know you said you might go a little longer today.
Yeah, probably like an hour left. Yeah.
So, we're a ways away from the gift goal. Well, right under 200. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all of that goes towards knocking out the gift goal. I know we can do more. We can do better. Don't let me down. That would be very disappointing. You don't want to disappoint me, do you? If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please do so. You can, wherever you're watching. If you're a paid member on any of the platforms, you can join us for member-only events. And like I mentioned before, I'll say it again. If you guys want to come talk, that's how you do it, is you message me on Discord. I saw one person think, not on Discord. So that's the whole thing, is when we're actually calling out how you can come talk, that way isn't okay with you. So just come up with another excuse, but that's how you do it. Check out the link tree. We're on most social media platforms. We've got merch, Jay's on Cameo, and we upload all these episodes to Spotify. I checked the metrics on Spotify. I don't know if you guys haven't been here before. We're trying to get to a partner level. We have to have 2,000 people who watch one of our streams. We're at a little over 200. So if you guys haven't checked out our Spotify, if you go turn that on for us, that would be awesome. And we have to hit 10,000 consumption hours. And we're sitting at right around 1,600. So if you guys could help us out doing some of that, we would appreciate that. Yeah, so about an hour left to knock out the gift goal. And there's that. Did you hear about the guy that got fired from the keyboard factory?
I did not.
He wasn't putting in enough shifts.
Stupid. I do see the conspiracy theorists are here. Why does Joe Biden's brother have an island near Epstein's? You said next to, it's near. He bought that after. I think he bought that like a year ago. He did. He just bought an acre. He didn't buy island. He just bought an acre on an island. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Epstein's dead. So that's a crazy conspiracy theory you guys are trying to come up with now, that somehow Joe Biden's implicated because after Epstein died, his brother bought an acre on an island that is relatively close to Epstein's island. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, here's these bitches walking around doing absolutely fucking nothing. Watch the people in the windows. Just like, what are we doing? They're more alarmed by this than they are about like walking out in the city. Walking through the city, they're not afraid, but this makes them a little uncomfortable. Let me turn down the volume here. I forgot this too. Lisa said Virginia Giuffre testified that Jeffrey and Ghislaine abused her together. For those who say Ghislaine isn't a victim, yeah, she's not a victim. She sexually abused children too, and she trafficked them, and she manipulated them. You could make the argument that she's every bit as bad as Jeffrey Epstein, and I think you could probably make an argument that perhaps worse, because Jeffrey Epstein was there for the physical abuse. So was she, but she also was there for most of the emotional abuse and the emotional manipulation. She manipulated these girls, and after Epstein would abuse them, she would come in and she would try and talk them down from it. She would convince them it was okay, that there was nothing wrong with it, and she would get these children in a circle, like a cycle of abuse. I think you could make a good argument that she is probably worse than Epstein. Look at all these people like, what the fuck? This is what your FBI is doing, by the way. You guys are always talking about all this crime and all this trafficking and how we got to support our police. These are FBI agents. What are they doing? This is a waste of time. The fuck are we doing? We're sending the FBI out to give out curfew tickets? Amy Lynn said, where's the list? Biden's Island. Ginger says they did change Maxwell's status to out in BOP. That's what I had read. I just don't know if she has to get a work release program approved now. I think that means she's eligible, but it still has to be approved. It's part of their weight loss program. This is just how they exercise for the FBI now. They go on night walks. Like, what are we doing here? Who's afraid? Where's all this crime? Do you guys think that all these, like, this was all crime ridden the day before, and now they're here and that's why there's no crime? Brad says Trump and Epstein were definitely twin flames. Jamar said, you MAGA bitches are just scared to debate or talk to Jay. Sully said, I need Jen to sing me happy birthday. Jen, next time you're up. Boy, thank God. Thank God they're stopping all of this. Just standing around talking to each other. This is what you guys are doing to distract from Epstein. Look at these people out having an ice cream or an iced coffee. Look how unsafe they all felt. They're laughing. They're literally laughing. Jake, but at least I have some courage. You're a little bitch. So let's go to name calling. I've got courage. I do this every day in front of a microphone. You sit in my chat every single day. All he could do is name call. If you don't want to name call, we don't have to name call. Just come up and explain it. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to not call you guys bitches when you come here every day, claim that you have answers, but you won't come up and debate it? You won't share those answers with the class, and you just insult me, and then you're like, all he does is name call. What else am I supposed to assume about you? You won't debate anything. You're here every fucking day. I think that it would be rude of me if I didn't point out that you were bitches. I think that's really dishonest of me. I try and run an honest platform here. I don't want the people that come here every day to watch this show to think that I'm being dishonest. I have no choice but to call you bitches. What else am I supposed to do? Lie? You want me to lie to the people? Hey guys, Jacob has a lot of courage and a lot of good answers. He really knows what he's talking about. All these times he says that I'm just dumb. He's right. I'm just a dumb guy. No, Jacob, don't be a bitch. By the way, when you come up here, I won't call you a bitch anymore. I'll still call your friends bitches because they are bitches. But like you guys you're all real tough in the comments. You're all real tough in my DMs. You're all real tough on Twitter. All of you are fake fucking tough guys. And I've explained this to you before, but I'll explain it again. The reason that you're fake fucking tough guys is because you follow dipshit idiots. Most of you, the way that you found me is I debated one of your dipshit leaders, and you don't know what the fuck your leaders are saying. You just know that they don't like me, and you don't like me. And so you can sit there and you can watch a debate. You have no fucking clue what anybody said in that debate. You have no ability to recap it with your own words. You just don't like me, and you like them, and so these are all your feelings. And I just think, respectfully, that's bitch shit. I'm not a person who's going to have like strong opinions and research and then be a little bitch in the comments all day. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what else to call you. Would you like me to choose a different word? What word? Coward? Would you prefer coward? I think that hits harder. I would rather somebody call me a bitch than a coward. But if you'd rather me call you cowards because me cursing hurts your feelings, we can do that. We can call you, I don't know, low IQ. I don't. Maybe you have anxiety getting behind a microphone. I don't know. I'm sorry, Jacob. I'm sorry to hurt your feelings. I thought I was just being accurate in my language, but if we can come up with a more appropriate word to call you bitches, we'll call you something different, bitches. So it's amazing how hurt they are by words, right? It's amazing. We love free speech, unless you call us bitches. Then we're upset about it. Here is CNN's Cassie Hunt talking to the Attorney General, Brian Schwalb. He is I believe he is the D.C. Attorney General. Fairly sure that's his role. It might say here on the tag here, but yeah, he's the Attorney General of D.C.
So let's talk about D.C. residents for a second, because these headlines...
Loud enough? Got it way down.
You know, and I was a resident of D.C. for over 20 years. I've lived in all but 3 D.C. wards, okay? These headlines are different from when I first came to the city. 13-year-old girl, 13, sentenced to 7 years for 2023 beating death of a D.C. man. Teen sentenced in killing of Lyft driver who came to U.S. seeking safety. This was a guy who was a U.S. military interpreter who was shot and killed in an attempted carjacking. Again, by a 16-year-old. Now, juveniles fall under you and the D.C. Attorney General, Jeanine Pirro.
I do think it's important to note here that what she didn't say and why CNN can fuck themselves is because CNN is very, very afraid of Donald Trump, and they're afraid of lawsuits. And what Trump has tried to do is he's tried to say, like, you have to find a middle ground between me and other people. And you don't. If one person, if one person lies to you all the time and another person doesn't lie to you, or they only lie to you sometimes, you are under no obligation to try and find a middle ground and treat both of these people the same way. What you'll notice about that opening is she didn't say crime has changed. She didn't say DC got more violent, because it hasn't. The crime rate has been dropping. It's gotten less violent. What she said is the headlines are different. And that's a good look into, one, how she runs her program, two, how most news organizations like CNN work. But they pepper you with headlines. They pepper you with stories. And those stories, they don't really care if the data matches up. If you're going to bring people on and you're going to discuss the dangers of DC, I think it's important to provide the right context. And the context should be that crime in DC has been declining. There is an uptick in things like auto theft, which again it then has been declining as well, but it is up from previous years. And that those crimes are being committed by teens, and there seems to be a problem in DC that we may have a specific group of people where they are doing a specific crime more than they have historically. But instead, she just says crime rates are up. And then she addresses, she's not talking about car theft, which is the crime that, and petty theft, which is what most of these teen crime spikes are reflecting. They're not reflecting violent crime in the same way, right? But she doesn't want to say that, because she can't say that, because they need the clicks. So they're going to bring somebody on, and they're not going to add the context that you should have. I'm 100% comfortable with them having this conversation. We should have this conversation. If you, wherever you live, if you have teenagers who feel like they are turning to a life of crime, there's probably a reason for that, and we should get down to that root problem. And the root problem I can't think of a time in history where the problem has been fixed by over-policing. Can you guys think of one? Like, over-policing has never fixed any of the root causes. What it'll do is it'll suppress it for a little while, and then it comes raging back. The problem with what Trump's doing is if he wants this to work, like sending in the National Guard, if that suppresses crime for a little bit, he's going to claim victory, and then they pull them out, and then eventually people will go back to doing what they were doing unless you fix the root problem. But conservatives don't want to talk about the root problem because the root problem is poverty. The root problem is wealth inequality. And the root problem is that that certain communities have no upward mobility. Poor communities have a hard time, if they have been historically poor, they have a hard time having any sort of upward mobility. That's the problem that we need to fix. But Trump can't do that because what he just did is pass a tax bill that hurts the poorest among us. We have new numbers on this now, the CBO scoring. The poorest people among us are going to see a tax increase of about $1,200 this year. They are not going to save money. Everybody, and it just goes like this. The chart just goes like this. And the people at the top are going to save the most money. So Trump can't do that. Trump and his administration can't come in. Republicans can't go into a city and be like, hey, we're going to address the core problems here. The core problems are upward mobility. We can't address that because then we have to admit that we don't give a fuck about that. So instead, they're going to come in heavy-handed, and they're going to say, yay, we fixed the problem, and then they're going to leave. And eventually it will come back. And then when it comes back, what are they going to do? They're going to say, see, D.C. keeps voting for Democrats. We bring in the Republicans, and they fix the problem, and then the Democrats ruin it again. No, we just cut the budget for D.C. You guys, the same big, beautiful bill that you guys love, cut the budget for D.C. See the problem we have here? Like, you guys don't want to address any of the solutions. Why? Because it forces you to admit that your ideology is fucking incorrect. This is where it fucks me up with you dipshits. And I'm going to be mean again. Because the only reason you're ever opposed to helping poor people is because your dipshit leaders keep telling you that trickle-down economics works and taxation is theft. And then we have the racist shit here. The problem is black people. Sure it is. Sure it is. It's definitely not economics. It's definitely black people. That's what it is. It's definitely the color of somebody's skin that causes a problem. Right? It's definitely that. That's the problem. You guys are ideologues. And that's why you guys think that you're not racist, and you are. Because you support racist politics because of your ideology that trickle-down economics works. And it doesn't. There's no evidence that it works. I don't know how many more times you guys have to get fucking dunked on with trickle-down economics. Like, go look at wealth inequality. Just tell me. Trickle-down economics starts in 1982. Show me a better graph than this to show you that trickle-down economics doesn't work. Let's go here. Come on, load, baby. Yeah, we'll just maybe leave it smaller. Income gains at the top dwarf those of low and middle income households. Look how even everything was at about 1982. You see how these were gains? And if you look at the chart before that, it was pretty flat. The gains were pretty similar. And all of a sudden, you give a tax break in 1982 to the richest among us, and that's this red line. And look at the gap grow. The bottom 20% is this yellow line here, and that's remained pretty steady. The next 19% is the blue line, and the middle 60% is this gray line. Now, we've all been pretty steady with the middle class losing ground here. But the 1% have gained all the wealth. And you want to tell me this is about the color of somebody's skin. Why? Why do you say that? Because you're fucking stupid. Right? And you have an ideology which you can't abandon because you treat it like a religion. Like, no amount of data is going to prove to you that trickle-down economics doesn't work. It's never worked. It bankrupted Kansas. And it bankrupted Kansas because they have a balanced budget. And our government, our federal government, doesn't require a balanced budget. So it can't really bankrupt us in the same way. But in like 4 years, it fucked up Kansas entirely. They got rid of Art Laffer. They ran him the fuck out. And there were all these economists that worked with Art Laffer, and they couldn't get a job. Since the 90s, they couldn't get a job. And now all of a sudden, they're employed by the Trump administration. Fucking crazy, right? This data doesn't make any sense. And so rather than tell you, because all you do is baby bird, feed me, They don't want to tell you that this economic theory has been tried and tested and it's a categoric failure, because who's the one pushing it? It's these people, it's the redliners here. These are the ones that are funding it. These are the ones that push the tax cuts, and they love this. They don't give a fuck about this down here. They love this. And so they will tell you anything but that it's them. Oh, it's black people. Oh, it's degeneracy. Oh, it's secularism. Those are some words that you dipshits hear all the fucking time, don't you? I'm sorry. Did black people cause this line to go up? Did brown people cause this line to go up? Did atheism cause this line to go up? Did people fucking each other cause this line to go up? What if everybody in America fucked a new person every day? Would that change this line a goddamn bit? No, it wouldn't. Wouldn't change it one goddamn bit. What if everybody in America tomorrow was black? Would that change this line? Not a goddamn bit. What if we were all trans tomorrow? Would that change this line? What if we were all gay tomorrow? Would that change this line? What if we all became secularists tomorrow? Would that change this line? No. None of this would change based on identity or ideology, because the reality is this is just the rich people distracting you with shit that you don't fucking understand anyways, and so that you can stay mad and they can stay rich. And I'm directly at you, Jacob, because we're not calling you a bitch anymore. I guess we're just calling you a coward. You're too fucking stupid to understand basic math. Rather than understand math, you guys would rather follow conspiracy theories that somehow where somebody puts their dick or what color their skin is actually the fucking problem in this country, and not the very obvious analysis that rich people are hoarding all the fucking money. And that every time we give them a fucking tax break, look what happens. Do you see at the end here? You see that line that goes straight fucking up? What does that coincide with? The Tax Cuts and Job Acts of 2017. Whoop! What about this fucking line that goes straight up? I wonder what happened right before that line went straight up. Oh, a tax cut. Crazy, right? Weird. And this makes up this line and this line. If you compare those years, you know what else happened to those years? 50% of our debt. Of all the debt we've accumulated, 50% of it comes from this tax cut and this tax cut. No, but it's for sure black people. It's for sure immigration. It's for sure trans people. For sure. Yeah, we're all fucking each other too much. That's the problem here. Meanwhile, ironically, you are repeatedly getting fucked by billionaires. On the daily, you're just getting fucked by billionaires, and you're like, there's too much fucking in this country. It's so stupid. This is why we get so frustrated, because we could just fix the problem, but you're too goddamn dumb, and you follow, like, this is just math. You can't make a compelling argument that who people are fucking caused this. There is no argument that there is anything to do with race or sexuality or how much you love America or how much you love Israel. None of that factors in here. This is all, where's the money going to these fucking people? How did it change? I wonder what changed exactly in 1982. I think in America that everybody was just married to one person and they went to church on Sunday. And then in 1982, we decided that we were going to fuck everybody and not go to church anymore. And that's probably what happened to our exploding wealth inequality. It definitely was not that we had trickle-down economics. That couldn't be it. No, that's not it. That couldn't possibly be it. Like, this is basic shit. Basic. That's why everybody who has ever, like, been an economist that has this ideology has been laughed out of the fucking building. I thought they were extinct. You can't find Art Laffer anymore. He showed up like 5 years ago to debate, what's his name? The guy that, like, always debates on the side of socialism. Fuck. Felice would be furious that I just forgot this guy's name. Richard Wolff. And he got dunked on so bad in that he just disappeared again. And then we all thought, like, yeah, that's the end of the Laffer curve, trickle-down economics people. And then Trump won, and they're like, hey, we're back. And then we have exploding debt again. This number is going to get worse. Tax cut, tax cut, tax cut. And we just added another tax cut. So we're at historic highs for wealth inequality. And they told you, hey, we're going to cut taxes for the rich, because really the reason that you have problems is because of all of these social issues that you focus on non-fucking stop. And the reason that nobody on your side of the aisle that you guys listen to talks about this is because it doesn't fucking pay to talk about it. That's the crazy thing. The reason that this channel is growing is because on the left, it pays to talk about math. It pays to break down stories. It pays to get to the root problem. Nobody would give a fuck about me if I sat around all day, every day, and just played headlines, right? The reason this channel specifically grows is because we do this. And all of you show up the same day. The reason, by the way, I started as a debater. You know why I can't get debates anymore? You know why people don't show up anymore? Because they don't have an answer to this. So I have to get challenged by your people. And your people are so fucking confident because you blow smoke up their ass that every once in a while, one of them reaches out to some debate moderator because they won't come here. They sure as shit aren't going to come here. So they reach out behind the scenes to some debate moderator like Raging Tomato, and they go, hey, can you get me a debate with this guy? And let's make sure that you jump in and stop him and take my side. Also, let's go ahead and make sure that his mic is low, and our mic, with our mics, we can hear your heartbeat. Right? That's why. That's why you're not here. That's why you don't come up. That's why you don't see me with debaters here. That's why I go to other platforms. But guess what I've never done? Asked for any of those debates. They have to take me to a spot where they have a home-filled audience of dumb shits like you who, after they lose the debate, they know that you'll go and you'll jack them off and tell them how great they were, and you won't be able to explain it. You'll never be able to explain why they won. You just feel like they won, and then you'll send them money. That's how this works. But that's not how this channel works. That's not why anybody likes me here. You know who doesn't come to this channel? People that just want me to play like Midas Touch videos. You notice we don't play Midas Touch here? There's a place for that. It's fine. You can have the Midas Touch is fine. Lincoln Project's fine. They do good work. But that's not what we do here. What we do here is we try and figure out what the fuck the problem is. And this is the fucking problem. And you guys are obsessed with what people are doing with their genitals instead. That's why America's fucked. Because basic math is not hyperbolic enough for you. It doesn't get your dick hard. You need to be shouting at women. You need to be shouting at minorities. You can't math is like, oh, that's so boring. I don't want to talk about math. We should talk about whether or not we should have a secular or a Christian society. Who the fuck cares, dude? Worship whoever you want, but like math is math. There's no refutation to this. The more you cut taxes, the more rich people keep, the more the middle class loses, and the more stagnant the growth is in the bottom 40%. It's just math. Sorry, I went on too long. I'm assuming that we must have all these MAGAs now lining up to correct the math. Because now that we've put it out there, and I said you guys can't argue the math. I assume there's a line of you, Jen. I'm so sorry. I'm sure you're Jen. Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I flood your inbox with guest requests here now? Because now that I've given them an actual statement on math, I assume it's flooded. How many people do we have lined up to debate right now, Jen?
Yeah, no, they're disappointing.
Shit. Still zero, huh?
They're disappointing women again.
Yeah, that's shocking.
As usual.
Can't believe it. Joseph said the idiot you debated Monday said the wealth gap wasn't because of trickle down. Yeah, because he's an idiot. It was from offshoring. GOP did both. Now they want to fix it. That's true. First time viewer, I like the cut of your jib. Thanks, Eric. Amy said I had an army friend at the Texas border. She said it was a lot of going to strip clubs and partying. There was nothing to do. Sounds right. Linda said Republicans can connect dots miles apart from each other, but Trump being besties with Epstein, being told he was in the files by his own DOJ, and then trying to claim the whole thing is a hoax. Nothing to see here. No dots at all. Yeah, they struggle with I guess, is it nearsightedness? Was that which one's the one where is it near if you can only see near? Yeah, they can't see what's right in front of their face. Sully said, oh, I did that one. Amy also said, where's the list? And then I have couple more comments here. Susan said, love the rants. Fact said, donation towards an acre on Biden Island. Let's go. And Adam said, they're yeller-bellied some bitches. Yeah. Did we get them fired up in the chat?
Oh yeah. Well, there's Jim who I think Jim's here early. He usually shows up on Fridays at the last 10 minutes of the show, 5 minutes of the show. Jim, we've been over this. You messaged me on Discord. The Venmo username, Jen with 2 N's, Dub with 2 B's, the number 1, and I can bring you on right now. You won't, but that's how you do it. And quit crying if you don't figure it out.
Jim, we're starting to think, Jim, that you may not want to come up here. It's starting to feel like you're just teasing us. Let me adjust this goal here. Do you want to do last announcements? Probably last announcements. I'll update the goals.
Yeah, just the same same thing. If you haven't already subscribed, please do that. Join us for member only events. And Jim, we've got 656 people in here. I can see numbers are hard for you. Numbers are hard for Elmo, Jim. Sorry, he was mistaking how many people we had in the room. So subscribe if you haven't done that. Check out the link tree in our bio. We have our most social media platforms. We've got Jay's on Cameo. We have merch and Spotify. Yeah, if you haven't checked out our Spotify, please do that. And we've got about a half hour or so left of the show to knock out the rest of the gift goal. So there. Oh, wait, I need a joke. Hold on. A joke.
Jim, it's wealth inequality, not wealth and quality. Jim says, think about this. Wealth and quality keeps on getting worse with the more socialist become. Thought about it, Jim. That was fucking stupid. That's what I thought about it. That was stupid.
Wow. Anyways, all right, I got a longer joke.
Okay.
3 nuns
unalived
in a car crash.
Oh, no.
They arrived at the gates of heaven. St. Peter said, before I let you in, you each have to answer a question correctly. Otherwise, straight to hell. He asked the first nun, who was the first woman? She answered, Eve. Correct. He let her in. The second, where did Eve meet Adam? She said, the Garden of Eden. Correct. He let her in. Finally, he said to Mother Superior, your question is going to be more difficult because you're Mother Superior. She said, okay. Peter asked, what did Eve say when she first saw Adam? She was thinking out loud, oh, that's a hard one. Peter replied, correct. Welcome to heaven.
That's all right. Jim probably, for all intensive purposes. Yeah. Especially, says Jim. Especially now. All right, let's talk about crime prevention. This is a reporter talking to Janine Pirro, and she needs, for somebody in media, her media training's not great. The reporter asks her, what about crime prevention? Do you or the president's plan do anything to address the root causes of crime in D.C., such as truancy, which is becoming a big problem?
My prosecutors.
You just walked through the changes you'd like to see from the punitive aspects. What about preventative? Do you or the president plan to do anything to address the root causes of crime in D.C., such as truancy?
Never even thought about it.
My job is to try to heal the victims and prosecute the criminal.
I just want to put teenagers in jail. Can you just let me put teenagers in jail, please? That's all I want to do. I don't want to think about the root causes. I don't want to fix the problem. Can I just put some teenagers in jail, please?
Everybody else can deal with rehabilitating the individual. I honestly am not concerned about why they commit crimes. My concern is if they commit crimes.
Oh.
My concern is the victims of the crimes. That's my job as a U.S. attorney. Go ahead.
But just follow up on that quickly.
Is a felony one, and my prosecutor.
It is crazy to me. Like we're at historic low crimes, and Republicans have never been louder crying for fascism. Like, you guys have never wanted less rights ever. This is the most you guys have, like, advocated for less rights. And the reason you're doing it is because you view it as less rights for people who think differently than you. You don't look at rights in totality because you know what reality is. If you are a white, middle class or above American, you don't have the same life as other people. While on paper you might have the same rights, you definitely have more. That's the privilege. That's why when you're looking at people, other American citizens' rights being stripped, you don't recognize it as your rights being stripped. When you see somebody being detained by ICE, thrown to the ground that's an American citizen, you say that's just part of it. But if it was you, you'd have a problem with it. And why isn't it you? Because you don't look like them. So that's never going to happen to you. So you don't even have to even think about the possibility that this could be you. You've been like empathy has been beaten out of you guys. Like Donald Trump doesn't want empathy. There's literally like Christian pastors now, like prominent Christian pastors saying we can't do empathy. Charlie Kirk is saying empathy will destroy America. Empathy, that thing where like you can understand somebody else's pain, like you can on a visceral level you can feel that like other people's pain. That's a problem now. Jesus notoriously said, "Don't be empathetic, you stupid bitches. Empathy is for the weak." Ignore people who are being hurt. Ignore people who are having their rights trampled on. That's what Jesus said. Ignore all that. Empathy is the devil's work. Legitimately, like they're saying that this is the work of the devil. The empathy is leading people away from Christianity. Uh-oh. Maybe if empathy is leading people away from your church, maybe it's because your church is unrecognizable as a Christian church now. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you guys changed. Maybe empathy used to be the thing that they showed up for, and now they're like, hey, we're not doing empathy anymore. We're just doing like bigotry. I'm probably going to bounce. You're like, this is what I'm talking about. See, these people will not follow the teachings of Christ because they would rather be empathetic. None of you think, maybe these aren't the teachings of Christ. Maybe this isn't what he meant. Or maybe it's all fake. None of that. You're just like, well, the guy up there, see, I'm a dumb bitch, and as a dumb bitch, my job is to look at the man, always a white man, up there who talks, and my job is to listen to Talk Man and do exactly what Talk Man says. And if anybody doesn't do what Talk Man says, then they're an idiot. And will I be able to explain why? I will not be able to explain why. But what I will do is I will go on the internet and I will sit in comment sections where I will never be challenged and I don't have to accept challenge, and I will just rant incoherently. And I will just insult people without coming up and using my voice to have a conversation, because that's what you are. Like we are at an all-time high in America of cucky bitches. Like this is the cuckiest, bitchiest our country has ever been, and it's you guys. It's you. You're just sitting in the chair, semi-hard. I'm just nervous. I can't come up and I'm nervous. That's why I'm as soon as I get hard, I'm going to come up. You're not going to get hard. None of you are. You're just going to stay cucky little bitches in the corner. That's how this works. That's why those people make so much money. That's why Tim Pool makes so much money. Like, just despite being a fucking dipshit, like literally high school dropout. Charlie Kirk, literally, like community college dropout. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's weird that all of your heroes are uneducated people who are just heavy on opinion, love fighting culture wars. All the right-wing heroes are dipshits. None of the intellectuals that used to exist on the right have a voice now. It's all the dumbest people. You got a Fox News, like a bottom tier Fox News host is the Secretary of Defense with no qualifications. You have Kash Patel with virtually no qualifications as your FBI director. You have Pam Bondi completely unqualified as the Attorney General, and she might be the most qualified person there. You got you got the WWE commissioner's wife running the Department of Education. It's crazy. You have literally, like, it's the most anti-intellectual group I've ever seen assembled to run any organization. The attack on education is there because they recognize how easy it is to control uneducated people. So they tell you not to get educated. They tell you not to read anything. They tell you just trust in Trump. Every day, Caroline Leavitt says to a question, here's some data. Caroline, can you address this? Well, it's fake news. You have to trust Trump. Trump won overwhelmingly in a landslide, and you must believe Trump. And you guys go, that's right. Trump did win in a landslide. We do need to trust Trump. I can't understand it, but that must be why he won. He won because he needs to be listened to. And that we were just like dying. Their country's just falling apart economically. We're losing all of our trade partners. This will work. Those other countries also need to trust Trump. Britt says, how about you small-minded, illiterate, brainwashed bootlickers use your big boy voices and call into debate? Your sausage keyboard warrior fingers must be getting tired whining in the chat. I'm tired of your inability to spell. Words are hard. Swish said, Piero, if Shalimar and Benson and Hedges was a person, I don't understand any of that. Tanner says, I think we need to give Jim an all tomato. Jim, you guys can tomato Jim for a second. Natalie said, how quickly they forgive Trump and accept his nonsense is mind-blowing. I would say mind-numbing. Shannon said, love a good Jay rant. Lee said, thanks for bringing some intelligence to the day. Noodle Poodle says, truth just sounds better. Thanks, bub. All right, got those. Moving on. All right, here's Mehdi Hassan. He went on News Nation. I can't figure out this guy's name. I don't remember. I know I've seen him. Does anybody know this dude's name? Okay, for some reason, News Nation doesn't like put it on the. Usually, whoever is like hosting the show, it shows their name. Does anybody know his name? He is obviously in the tank, and I've got 2 clips from him. And what they're doing now is they do not want to allow anybody to discuss the hypocrisy of this administration, because as a rich white, it is kind of like, it's kind of a good feeling when you're like, oh, the government's going to keep all these people away from me, because they're going to keep the crime away from me. And of course, the crime is just people that look scary to me.
Understand why, if you're a law-abiding citizen, more police is a bad idea.
But it's not more police, right? It's the National Guard. Hire more police. Did you know that the Trump administration just cut $20 million in security funding to D.C., which is weird because apparently crime is out of
Leland Vittert is his name. Goddamn. Leland? He looks like a Leland.
control. When you say it doesn't matter whether it's up or down, it does. Some of us believe in truth and facts. When you say, you know, crime should be stopped, of course crime should be stopped, but this is not the solution. Are you planning, or is Trump planning to send the National Guard to every city? Is he going to send it to Aurora, Colorado, which has a Republican mayor and a higher crime rate, violent crime rate than D.C.? Is he going to send it to every city? This is not sustainable, Leland. You're smarter than Donald Trump.
I hope he sends it to St. Louis.
You can't solve the crime problem by sending the National Guard. We're Americans. We don't like the military on our streets.
I just want to point out that what Leland is saying here is he hopes that Donald Trump goes over his constitutional authorities and sends the National Guard into St. Louis. He hopes that he subverts the Constitution and sends the National Guard to St. Louis. That's where we're at now. We're cheerleading anti-constitutional activity. We're cheerleading authoritarianism.
Tin pot dictatorship. We should be able to sort out crime through law enforcement, through policy, which Donald Trump doesn't seem to care about.
So let's put the National Guard aside. Let's put the National Guard aside. What's wrong with having?
No, I'm not going to put the National Guard aside because it's quite important. It's at the core of this.
That's so important, and don't let anybody distract this. When they say let's put aside the part where they're doing the unconstitutional stuff. No, that's the only thing we're upset about. Nobody's upset about D.C. saying they want to crack down on crime. Nobody would be upset about that. Every single city in America currently has a mayor and a police chief who are saying we are going to crack down on crime, and nobody is getting pushback. And this is one of those tricks by right-wingers right now. Make sure you don't fall into this. Make sure if you're out there debating, if you're having this conversation, don't fall for this trap. Because what he's going to say is, okay, let's set aside this part. Don't you think we should address crime? Don't even go there. Of course, everybody thinks we should address crime. There's not a mayor or a police chief that says, fuck it, let's do more crime. Let's do more crime. Now, they want to tell you that, but that's not the reality. The problem with what we're seeing in D.C. is that the federal government is not allowed to police cities. They're not allowed to do police work unless we are under martial law, which we're not. That's the objection. That's the only objection. Don't ever let them tell you this is about crime, because DC has already been trying to address their crime, and their biggest complaint this year is that they got a cut in funding. So the very people sending in the National Guard saying, well, if you can't do it, we're going to do it for you, are the people cutting their funding to do it. And they've been successful. DC has been lowering their crime rate. They're headed in the right direction. So don't let anybody take you to a different argument. The argument is, can you use federal troops to do police work? The answer to that, according to the Constitution, and there's precedent on precedent on precedent from our Supreme Court, is no, they can't do that. So there is no argument once you remove the National Guard here. There's no longer an argument when if they try and move those goalposts and say, well, let's take it out and then let's see. What they're admitting to you is that they recognize that the part of the argument that Mehdi's making here they don't have an answer for. And because they don't have an answer for it, they're not willing to admit that they are wrong. They just want to move the goalposts. They want to have a different discussion because they can't figure out how to answer this. And the answer is authoritarianism. And they don't want to admit that then to themselves. Nobody wants to admit that they're a cuck. Even cucks, they don't publicly say I'm a cuck. You know, they just go into chat rooms or forums, wherever, like cuck forums, and they hide behind a screen name. Nobody wants to admit that they're a cuck. But that's what this is. This is cuck versus anti-cuck currently. If you are a cuck, you side with Donald Trump. If you're anti-cuck, you don't side with Donald Trump. That's the dividing line we have here. Do you want the government, the federal government, to subvert the Constitution and be all-powerful? If you say yes, you are a cuck, you side with Donald Trump. If you say no, you are not a cuck, you don't side with Donald Trump. It's very simple.
This is about Trump wanting to do a power grab. This is about Trump's obsession with the military. You can pretend it's about. You think it's because Trump cares.
That's his. See what I mean? They don't have an argument. Come on, man. Come on. Come on.
It's about crime in D.C. Really?
All right, let's keep going with this. Then we're gonna get Mehdi Hasan's gonna bring up fairly, by the way. Some people are gonna say this is whataboutism. Some's gonna say this is moving the goalposts. I would say it's the exact opposite. Donald Trump, the defense for Donald Trump here from Republicans is that he has the authority to do this because as the commander-in-chief of the DC National Guard, there's no governor standing in the way like Newsom in California. So the argument is that for these folks is that Trump can do this. Problem is that Trump and these folks told you that they can't do this. And that's why January 6th happened. Because although Donald Trump wanted to send in that National Guard and he wanted to stop those riots of his people who then he pardoned, by the way, he just couldn't do it because Nancy Pelosi said we don't want the National Guard. So they've lied to you about this for 5 years and now they're stuck, just like you guys are stuck. How do you now have both? How do you have that Donald Trump couldn't call in the National Guard, but Donald Trump can call in the National Guard? How do you have both? You can't. It doesn't make sense. So this is a fair criticism. And by the way, the violence on January 6th is far worse. I'm sorry. Just give me anybody who's not political and show them these clips of troops walking through D.C. or just show me any traffic light camera in D.C. Show me all the violence in D.C. in the last week and then show me January 6th. And anybody who doesn't know what they're watching is going to be like, oh, yeah, that one's way worse. Yeah, the January 6th was way worse. Don't call in the National Guard for that. But for this, we're going to call in the National Guard and we're going to give out a bunch of curfew tickets.
I think it's because Trump cares about crime in D.C., really? Because I remember Donald Trump on January the 6th, 2021, not giving
Mehdi,
a crap
oh,
about
come
crime
on.
in D.C.
Noun, verb, January 6th. Okay,
sorry,
Mehdi, no, Mehdi, come on, come on.
Let me finish my point. This is a short segment.
I know you said that. 150 police officers got hurt. Hold.
Desperate not to hear it. By the way, JH said, yes, they can. The Supreme Court rulings don't include D.C. I know. We were talking about St. Louis. I said that they can't send them to St. Louis. This guy is advocating that they send them to St. Louis, which would be against the law, which would be against the Constitution. I said, yes, not yesterday, on Monday, that what Trump's doing is constitutional. I've said it from the start. Let me just go back and watch the scramble here. Oh, I'm going to have to restart it. This happens with Twitter sometimes.
It's because Trump cares about crime in D.C., really? Because I remember Donald Trump on January the 6th, 2021, not giving
Mehdi,
a
oh, come on.
Mehdi.
January 6th. Okay, Mehdi, no, Mehdi, come on.
No, he's closing his eyes. Make it go away. Make it go away. Mehdi, no. No. Come on, Mehdi. Please don't. I'm closing my eyes. I'm begging you.
Come on,
let me finish my point.
Mehdi,
this is a short segment.
I know you said that. 150 police officers got hurt.
Hold on. You gave Bill O'Reilly a lot of time. Let me give an answer. I'm here for much shorter time. Let me speak. On January 6, 2021, you may want to move on for it. We all watched police officers in D.C. being attacked by a Trump-supporting mob, 150 injured, 600 people killed.
It's physical at this point. We're having physical, emotional reactions. Guys, look, the thing is, I'm a rich white guy, and I really do want federal troops in my city so that I never have to feel unsafe, even though I've been safe. Nothing's ever happened to me, but I want to be comfortable with the federal government being there to keep me away from all these icky pores. And I don't want you to bring up the fact that they didn't do anything on January 6th. Can you just shut the fuck up and let me be comfortable with the police keeping me away from the icky pores? I don't like the icky pores.
You're going to sit here. We know the statistics of January 6th. Mehdi, you're going to sit here. Mehdi, you're going to sit here. Mehdi, you're going to sit here and say if Trump cures cancer, then January 6th was terrible. Okay, the fact of the matter is you can't you can't have an argument. You can't have an argument about what's happening on the streets of D.C. without going back to January 6th.
Because it's about
you won't talk about it.
Yes, you can. This is the thing. Like, this is crazy. It's the same fucking guy. You know what I mean? Like, if I shit on your doorstep a month ago, and then I come back and I shit on your doorstep again, you wouldn't be like, this is the second time this motherfucker has shit on my doorstep. Of course you would bring it up. Of course you would bring it up. Or what if I just sat on your doorstep normally, but this time I shit on your doorstep? And before you're like, why don't you shit on the doorstep? I'm like, I can't shit on the doorstep. I have no authority to shit on the doorstep. And then this time I shit on your doorstep. And you're like, why'd you do that? You said you didn't have authority to shit on the doorstep. I'm like, you can't bring that up. You can't bring up that time when I said I don't have authority to shit on your doorstep. That's not fair. You can't use my own words against me. You can't use my own hypocrisy in the exact same city with the exact same scenario where I am in charge of the National Guard, but I pick and choose when to call it in. But I told you before that I didn't have the power, and now I have the power. You can't hold that against me. How dare you? Fuck you. Yeah, no, this is exactly what you do. And why do you only have authority when it's something you want? This is a fair point by Mehdi Hassan. Is it Mehdi Hassan? This is a fair point. This dude is losing. His hair is disheveled. It's getting tough to be a conservative right now. You got to be, not only do you either have to be stupid or you have to be like comfortable with people knowing that you're stupid or thinking that you're stupid. But the really hard thing about being like on the right now is nobody thinks you're intelligent. They either think you're a liar, like an intelligent liar, or a dummy. But you can't really be both right now.
Actually, it's about Donald Trump, Leland. But Leland's
no, it's
Donald
not.
Trump.
It's about how to have people be safe.
I said to you, Donald Trump doesn't care about crime in DC. You said, yes, he does. And I said, I'm going to give you evidence to prove he doesn't. If he cared about crime in DC, why did he pardon 600 people who assaulted police officers? You can't come and make this emotional
claim. Oh, come on, Mehdi. You can't. You're talking about completely different things.
You actually care about crime, then.
You cannot talk about this. There's completely different things going on.
Why?
What do you mean either I care about crime or I don't?
They're showing videos from like, no, these aren't current videos. Like, this is by definition propaganda. They're showing like vandalism here to try and tell you that it's okay to bring in the government. But if we dare to show January 6th, by the way, do you guys think this is worse than January 6th? A bunch of teenage kids looting a building? Yeah, it's totally worse than January 6th.
Where was the National Guard? Where was the National Guard on January 6th?
Oh, come on. You can't do
no.
This is silly. This is absolutely silly, Mehdi. You can't do this.
Why?
No, because it has nothing to do with what's happening or what the arguments are right now. Okay,
and
you can't. No, it has nothing to do with it.
Crime matters in D.C. The victims of crime matter in D.C. What about the cops in D.C.? And I'm
the
saying
only person who died on January 6th was a Trump supporter, and you can't talk about what's happening on the streets right now.
Let me know when you want me to speak.
No, you can't talk about you cannot talk about this without talking about January 6th or anything else. You won't have an argument on the merits. Mehdi, thank you.
And then he just cuts him off. Literally shouts over him the entire time. The entire time. This is what it is. Like, you guys have seen. You know when I go to debate. You know when the point's landed. You know when they're afraid of the point. When they start screaming hysterically and don't let you finish sentence, that's when you know that they don't have an argument for that. And that's what we're seeing all over the media today. You're going to see it tomorrow. You're going to see it all week. Let me see if I have another. Here's unrelated, but we're talking about the economy. Same shit's happening over on Fox News. Here's our dude, James Tallarico, over on Fox News with, what's this guy's name again? Oh, I'm forgetting all the Fox News hosts' names lately.
You gave the ball game analogy. In my view, what has happened here is you've done something in certain states, and you don't like it when it's done in Republican states. And now you're saying you've done the same thing as us.
Yeah, I do shout all the time, but there's nobody up here to debate me. So see how that doesn't work? I swear to God, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you guys know what words mean. None of you have the ability to hear a sentence, process it, and then form a response. I said, if you're screaming over somebody when you bring them on to discuss something, then you probably don't want anybody to hear that point. None of you are here, right? Like this would be that'd be a good chance for you. Like if you were talking right now and I was screaming over you, you'd be like, see, but I'm not talking over you because you're not here because you're cowards.
Done the same thing as us, and we are going to, by the way, if you do it, we're going to ratchet it up even more, in the words of Gavin Newsom.
My party has never gerrymandered in the middle of the decade at the request of the President of the United States, nor would we. The only way this is going to happen in blue states is if Texas executes this power grab. You mentioned Massachusetts. Right. Do you know the party of the governor that signed that map into law? He was a Republican. It was a Republican governor that signed that map into law. So I just want to be clear with our facts, and I don't want to muddy the waters. All of us, whether we're Democrats, independents, or Republicans, we should stand up to politicians who don't want to face accountability at the ballot box. That's exactly what's happening here. And I asked you, if Republican policies are popular, why do they need to redraw these maps? Why can't they just run on their policies?
I'm getting wrapped on time. I'm enjoying this conversation. I want to let it go on, and I apologize. That's such is the nature of cable television.
Will Kane, thank you guys. I gotta go.
In my view,
suddenly in my ear, we're on a hard cutoff here. I'm being told we're out of time because he was asked the question that none of you could answer. If you guys were so popular, you talk about this mandate all the time. Why do you need to change the rules? Why do you need to add more seats? If you're that popular, why wouldn't you just win the election? If you're so concerned about democracy and proving that you don't have to cheat to win elections, just don't cheat. Just let it play out. See what happens. The reality is, you know what will happen. It's probably going to happen anyways because this is fairly nearsighted. You guys don't have the gerrymandering capacity that the Democrats have. They can hurt you worse than you can hurt them. Unfortunately for you, you don't have this ability. You're not going to be able to go in and gerrymander enough votes away. You're going to lose votes here. You're going to lose seats, and you're going to destroy Republicans' ability to have a voice in places like California and New York and Illinois. I'm not a fan of this. I think as much as I am not a fan of Republicans, I want you guys to have a voice. I want you to live in districts that are drawn correctly, where the people in the district are people that live roughly in the same communities, and that you guys can vote together as a block. That's how you wind up having a say. Like in a representative democracy, the only way you have a say is if you can vote in a block. And so if you're voting with the other people that live in similar circumstances as you guys similar socioeconomic circumstances, I think that's great. Like I think that's important, whether you're Republican or Democrat. But we're openly talking about one party doing something that's never been done before, trying to convince, you guys are trying to convince us that this has happened before. Not once. Just give it. You guys are welcome to give me the example. When did a Democratic president call a Democrat state in the middle of a census, in the middle of that 10-year gap, and say, "I need you to change the districts to get me more seats"? You can't whataboutism out of this. Now, I think it's wrong on both sides. I hope you guys can recognize that too, that it's wrong on both sides. But if you are honest at all, you have to acknowledge that this is unprecedented. It has never happened. You can't show me in a time when this happened. It's never happened before. Have other states gerrymandered? Yes, including Texas. Is Texas the worst? They're close, but not the worst. Should it happen? No. Should Illinois have the gerrymandered map that they have? No. Should California? No. But admittedly, California's really isn't that bad. California's is pretty good compared to most states. Gerrymandering should go away. And by the way, California's map got more accurate when they did independent redistricting. Why didn't Texas want to do independent redistricting? Why did they rely on the elected members of Congress? None of them have any expertise in any of this. Why'd they rely on them and then split it down party lines? If this was really about like the demographics changed and the census is wrong, and so we feel underrepresented in Texas, we don't feel like the representation is correct, well, then you could have ordered a new census, or you could have ordered an independent redistricting group, but you didn't do that. You chose to do this very quickly on partisan lines. You don't even have enough time to do a study. I don't know of any time that they have just gerrymandered for the fuck of it. It's like, we're going to gerrymander. And like a week later, like, here's the map. Push it through. It's never happened before. No talking to some of you folks. What are we at? 109. I'll get through the economy. Here's just more. I'd like an answer from this. You guys aren't going to come up. Trump announced, I'm pleased to announce that I'm nominating highly respected economist Dr. E.G. Antoni, which none of you have heard of because he's not highly respected. In fact, he's highly discredited. The next commissioner of the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Our economy is booming, allegedly. Now the lies. Our economy is booming, and EJ will ensure that the numbers released are honest and accurate. I know EJ Antoni will do an incredible job in this new role. Congratulations, EJ. An economist so unknown and so disrespected, and you'd be shocked. This may surprise some of you, but the only place he's respected is at the place where he works, the Heritage Foundation, who wrote Project 2025. Crazy. This was back in July. Noted respected economist E.G. Antoni said import prices came in way below expectations. June was up just 0.1 month over month and 0.2% year over year, or negative 0.2% year over year, while May saw a huge downward revision from flat to minus 0.4 month over month, still waiting for tariffs to be passed on by foreign producers. Now, these are import prices, right? So we know just to help you guys, we know consumer prices went up. Correct? Nobody disputes that. Consumer prices went up, meaning what you and I pay. Prices went up, but import prices were down. So what does that mean?
We've got a new subscriber.
Well, Joey Politano, an actual respected economist, said the import price index measures pre-tariff prices, the prices that you pay to import it before you pay the tariffs. The fact that pre-tariff prices are basically flat means that Americans are paying the prices because consumer prices are up. Though I wouldn't expect a Heritage Foundation guy like yourself to be smart enough to understand basic economics. This is basic. This is not even like first day of economics. This is like, can you do math economics? And now the guy in charge of the Bureau of Labor Statistics is a guy who saw a chart that clearly proved that Americans pay tariffs. And he was like, I thought they said we were going to pay tariffs. No clue. That's who's in charge now. And why is he in charge? Because he works for the Heritage Foundation. And because he's going to lie. He's going to get out there and he's going to lie. They're going to hide the numbers. I'll get to that here in a second. Here is, I believe, Caroline Leavitt being asked about the foreign experts eating the tariffs. Small businesses now are reporting all the time that they may not survive these tariffs. So I showed you guys that Trump voter that was the Montana knife company who like now has to raise the prices on his knives, and now he's not selling as many knives because of the tariffs. That's what we're finding out. As the tariffs now are actually going into effect, which they haven't been, they're now starting to go into effect. Small businesses are like, we're fucked.
Go ahead.
Yeah, two questions on the economy. So first, we've had small businesses tell us that it's not foreign exporters who are eating the tariffs, it's them. And they've held off on raising prices, but soon they're going to have to raise prices. What is the White House's message to them?
The White House's message to our small business.
Okay. The question is, we're eating the tariffs. They're just admitting it. Again, this president, this White House doesn't believe that Americans pay tariffs. So this is kind of fucking weird, right? So they ask the question, they say, your small business owners are saying that the tariffs are costing us money and we're eating it. Now, this administration doesn't believe that they would pay tariffs. They believe that other countries pay the tariffs. So strike one, because dipshit and dipshit's mouthpiece here don't understand what the fuck a tariff is. But they want to know what to do. They're worried about the future of their business. And so they're probably saying, like, what answers can you give us? How much longer do you think we can deal with this? What can you say to us to make us feel like we have some hope? And here's what they say.
Business owners across the country is you have never had a better ally or friend or supporter in this White House than President Donald Trump, who is a business.
You've got a friend in me. Guys, don't worry about it. It's Trump. He's your guy. He loves you. Don't worry about the prices. Don't worry about your finances. You've got a friend over here.
Businessman himself who understands your concerns and who wants to restore wealth back to our country through the powerful use of tariffs, and that's what he's focused on doing, while simultaneously driving down costs. You have to remember, we are 6 months into this administration, and we had a president who had no business experience, had no idea what he was doing, and who...
Okay, so far we've had what you need to tell small business owners is Trump likes you, and it's Joe Biden's fault anyways.
Funneled billions of wasteful spending dollars into our economy, which created the worst inflation crisis in a generation. Now this president is focused on tackling...
And we're also going to lie and pretend that Joe Biden's policies, Trump's tax policies somehow, Joe Biden was able to manipulate into a worldwide inflation. The mastermind, Joe Biden, who also doesn't know where he is, was able to trick the entire world into thinking that COVID was real, shut down their supply chains, and it was somehow like some policy Joe Biden put in caused the whole world to shut down. All these people just died because they believed Joe Biden that they were sick, that they had COVID. That's what happened, allegedly. That's what they want you to believe. No, nothing to these small business owners. Just Trump loves you and it's Joe Biden's fault.
Inflation, deregulating, cutting costs, cutting red tape to make it easier for small business owners to thrive. And again, the economic indicators show that we are moving in the right direction. In January, when this president showed up to the White House, the 6-month annualized core inflation rate was 3.7%. Today, 6 months later, the 6-month annualized core inflation rate is 2.4%. So we are trending in the right direction, moving.
Yeah, but you were trending in the right direction. You know what I mean? Like, his policies are just now going into effect. So those numbers that she's quoting there, those are still under Joe Biden's policies. And if you saw the line, core inflation was trending down. It's been trending down for years, and they just kind of continued that trend. And now we're seeing a little bloop. She's not talking about this part at the end, the little bloop, bloop. Now we're starting to see, it might go in the other direction. She's not talking about that. She's just talking about a trend that existed when he took office that continued.
Forward, since President Trump took office, for another 6 months, inflation will be tracking at 1.9% at this trajectory. You look at grocery prices, they fell, energy prices fell, fuel oil fell, ship fares fell, propane fell, butter, margarine, eggs, non-prescription.
Okay, but the question they asked is, these tariffs are fucking us in the ass. What are we going to do about these tariffs? Egg prices are down, and it's Joe Biden's fault anyways. Plus, Trump loves you.
Drugs. You go through the list of items that are falling. Yeah. And then I would also point to that report this morning showing that small business optimism has reached a 5-month high. So, look, we inherit...
Tell them to shut the fuck up. Trump loves them. And look at this poll that says other people think it's good. Oh, okay. That'll help my business. Now I feel better. Now I feel better because some people are optimistic and Trump loves me. So I don't give a fuck if my business goes under anymore.
Inherited an economic mess from the previous administration, but this administration is focused on fixing it every day. And part of that is signing the largest tax cuts into law to put more money back into the pockets of these small business owners.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I guess they didn't know that. They probably just didn't know that even though it looks on paper like they're losing money and that their business is about to go under, they don't know. They just don't know that Trump likes them, so they don't need to worry about it anymore. Now we have this. Jobs numbers. We know what the jobs numbers look like. We know what they've looked like the last few months. We know the economic indicators saying that we're on the verge of a recession are troubling for Trump. So naturally, instead of fixing it, here's what they've decided to do.
Nominee for BLS Commissioner E.J. Antoni recently told Fox Business that the BLS should suspend issuing monthly job reports and only issue quarterly reports.
Oh. You know what would really help these nasty headlines we keep getting about our shitty job numbers? What if we just didn't put them out anymore? Can we just not put them out anymore? Remember Trump did this with drone strikes? He campaigned on Obama being the drone striker in chief, and then he started doing all these drone strikes, and the media's like, bro, what the fuck? You said that this was a problem. Like, you campaigned on this, and he's like, I have an idea. We're not going to report it anymore. And they just stopped reporting, like, the number of drone strikes. Like, we've seen this playbook before. Don't tell the people. It's crazy to watch the Republicans in here. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We can't handle bad information. This is the right move. I'm so fucking tired of getting bad information, and I don't know how to explain it, but I still want to suck his dick. So yeah, this is what we should do. We should just stop talking about it. Why don't we talk about the good things, like how I love him? Why don't we talk about the good things, like how our military's getting more exercise walking through the streets now? Why are we always talking about jobs and the economy? Who fucking cares? We love him. He loves us. He's our friend. There's no better friend than Donald Trump. He's a patriot. He loves America. And if you talk about jobs and the economy, you don't love America. And now she's going to defend it.
Until the jobs data methodology is corrected. So does the president disagree with that assessment that his nominee has said there, or suspending these monthly job reports a real option?
I think he floated the idea of possibly suspending until they can get the data and the methodology in order in this.
Yeah. I mean, of course we would do that. You know, the job numbers come out, and we don't like them. And so we got to figure out a way to get job numbers that we like. And we can't course correct because we just did this tax cut, which is going to fuck us all. And so we can't change the policy. The only thing we could do is just like stop telling you about it and hope that you forget. Hopefully it works out. Now, here's the honest truth. If I want to paint this in the best possible light, their numbers suck. There's no end in sight. They believe that Trump's trade policies are somehow going to turn everything around, and they believe these tax cuts are going to turn everything around. And so they're like, let's just buy some time. Let's get rid of the negative headlines. This will all correct. And then we'll start doing the jobs reports again when the numbers are correct. Every last one of you knows that's exactly what they're doing. You all do. I know I make fun of you guys. I know I do. And I know I call you dumb bitches, and I think a lot of times you are, but you're not quite this dumb. You know what they're doing. The craziest part about this is like, you want it. Like, oh, you're edging to this. It's going to make me come if they don't do job numbers next month. Oh, lie to me. Oh, lie to me harder, MAGA. You don't care. That's the worst part about all this. You literally don't care that they're lying to you. You're like, this is actually a pretty good idea. And this is going to take some stress off of me because my Facebook, I'm getting absolutely fucking destroyed on Facebook. And I'd like a little reprieve from this. And since I don't have a good answer, maybe we can just hide the jobs numbers and I don't have to answer to it anymore. And then sometime there's just going to be job numbers that come out. And we won't know if they're real or not, but they'll be good. And you'll be like, see, I told you. Yeah, Lips, you guys are always freaking out. I told you. And then we'll be like, do we know if those are real? Oh, now you want to play that game? Were they real when Joe Biden was president? Huh? When Joe Biden put out the jobs numbers, I bet you didn't doubt him then, did you? No, you didn't do that, did you? And then you're just going to go right to whataboutism. So they're going to lie to you. They're going to hide all this information from you. Then they're going to bring out a bullshit report. And every economist is going to be like, that's bullshit. And you're like, I bet you didn't have this criticism with Joe Biden. Like you're literally like you are NPCs. And we've all played this game before. I don't play a lot of video games, but like one of the games that I played more than any is Red Dead Redemption. And so like I played it enough that I know what the certain NPCs are going to say. That's what it's like talking to you dipshits. Like we know everything that you're going to do. We know the entire fucking game plan. And when I was just saying that, you know goddamn well you're like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that is what's going to happen. That is what's going to happen. Except for you're going to believe the jobs report is what you're going to do. But you won't have an argument for why the jobs report's right. And by the way, the reason you won't have an answer for that isn't because you're stupid. It's because you're fucking lazy. You're very, very fucking lazy. And you have strong opinions for being this dumb. So you're not going to look into the methodology of how to determine whether or not a jobs report is accurate. You're just going to accept it because it's good. And then when people break it down to you and they're like, this is why this is a bad jobs report, this is why these numbers are fake, you're going to be like, you just have Trump derangement syndrome. You just don't like him. He could cure cancer and you wouldn't even accept it. No, I could just read. And I do read. Like before anything, all you MAGA, you are the most intellectually lazy human beings I've ever come across. Even the ones I debate, even like your best of the best. Whoever you think is your best debater that I've debated, even like those people are all fucking lazy. Every last fucking one of them. They just stop researching the second their answer is confirmed, and then they don't like test it. I do. Normal people do that because most of us, if we get proven wrong, it kind of sucks and we hate that. And so we're like, wait, what is the argument against this going to be? What am I missing here? And then you research that part too to make sure you get to a right answer. But not you guys. The people you listen to are lazy and you don't do research. So you are like the byproduct of laziness. You are so lazy that you only listen to lazy people. And so like you are dumber like just because of laziness. I don't even know how, it's hard to tell how smart any of you are because you're just bots that repeat the same shit every time. We know your reaction to everything. And when they release a jobs report, just mark my words, the same people are going to come in here and be like, oh, I thought you said I thought you said job reports were going to be bad forever. First of all, none of us said it would be bad forever. This will correct. Our economy always corrects. But you guys aren't going to care that they hide it from you until it corrects. That's the difference. You'll be like, yeah, I love when my government doesn't tell me the truth.
This president wants to ensure that the BLS again is putting out accurate.
There it is. There.
Yeah, they were inflated. The reason that Trump's job numbers were low and they were higher before is because they were inflated. It's not because it's worse. It's because they lie then, but Trump's team doesn't lie. Yeah, Trump is notoriously not a liar. It's just everybody else. Every time you see a negative number for Trump, I don't trust the data. Bitch, you haven't seen any data in your fucking life. None of you have. You can't trust the data. You don't know where to find it. You would have no idea where to find it. My Twitter right now is full of people asking me the same question of why I chose a number for data. And I've explained it on like live. I've explained it multiple times, and I'm not going to tell you. I'm not even going to give you the hints anymore. You got to go back and watch what I said. You're so goddamn lazy.
And honest data that the American people can trust. Since you brought up the new commissioner, he holds a master's and doctor's degree in economics from Northern Illinois University. He's the chief economist in the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah, the Heritage Foundation has been wrong for like 2 straight decades on everything economically. You could not find an organization that has been worse predicting the economy than the Heritage Foundation. Good luck. They're literally wrong every time. They have the opposite of reality almost every time.
Center for the federal budget, and in addition to his work at Heritage, he has multiple other roles. He's been widely renowned for his work on economic issues. He's been called before Congress to testify
By Republicans. He's not renowned. Nobody outside of the Heritage Foundation gives a fuck about him, and he's only ever called in to testify for Republicans.
As an economic expert, so he's a qualified individual, and the president trusts him to lead this important department.
The president knows that he's a cucky little bitch, and he will do what he's told. Let me get through some comments real quick, and then I've got one more video. I guess I have one more. Yeah, I just want to do this last one, then I'll read the comments. Eric and Don Jr. were asked about it. Now, for anybody, I don't want anybody answering this question who hasn't seen it. Trump, they're going to be asked, there's a criticism about this administration that Trump is making more money off of the administration than any presidency in history. Now, what do you think the answer is going to be? Do you think any of them are going to address how much money Trump has made or how he's making it? You want to guess? Because that's what they're going to be asked. What do you think they're going to do instead? Just generically, you don't have to pick, like, what do you think they're going to do instead of answering about the money? Pivot, deflect. Yes, good. Deflect to what? Close, blame Biden. It's even worse than that. They're going to play the victim card. So Donald Trump, who at least half of his wealth now has been generated in the last 6 months, he's become a billionaire again because of 3 Ponzi schemes that he's running. And instead of addressing it, they're going to play victim. Here you go.
I want to bring you to this, and all of you. Critics are saying, hey, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. The New Yorker, for example, says the number. How much is Trump pocketing off the presidency? Axios. President Trump and his family stand to net $3.4 billion by the end of the second term. David Kirkpatrick reports for the New Yorker in a piece today, the number of why it matters. No U.S. president has monetized the highest off in the land quite like this. Eric, your answer to those headlines.
Brian, it's infuriating. We had nowhere to go. Capital One stripped 300 bank accounts from me, 300 in the middle of the night. They sent us a letter after doing business for 20-something years. All your bank accounts for golf courses and condominium buildings and hotels, they're all gone in the middle of the night. I mean, how do you...
Yeah, because you guys, your dad did an insurrection. That's when they lost their Capital One accounts. When Daddy Bear did an insurrection, which, by the way, at the time, everybody in America agreed it was an insurrection. But Donald Trump is just allowed to lie to you guys, and you believe it because you're, again, cucky little bitches. So then you all changed your opinion. You're like, oh, that was a peaceful march. And honestly, I think it was probably the Democrats or Antifa. And then like we had court cases, and they all went to jail. They were all found guilty, and then you guys pardoned them. So for some reason, like somehow you guys have pardoned Antifa. Like the FBI and Nancy Pelosi and Antifa, and they all went to jail, and then you pardoned them for some reason. Right? Like, because the story doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be something you can repeat. And so now he's mad. By the way, they didn't lose all their bank accounts. They still had other bank accounts. They still had Deutsche Bank, and they didn't lose their money. Capital One just said basically like, hey, you got to take your money elsewhere. So Donald Trump got rich because Capital One said, hey, here's all your money. You've got to take it somewhere else. And so that's why it's okay that Donald Trump is running 3 Ponzi schemes right now.
Pay your taxes. How do you pay your employees? This happened across the board. It happened with J.P. Morgan Chase. It happened with Bank of America. It happened with First Republic. And this wasn't just happening to the Trumps, people with a lot of zeros on the end. This was happening to conservatives all over the country.
No, it wasn't. It definitively was not. This didn't happen. None of this. This happened to like Laura Loomer. I think it was like Zell or something. This happened to a handful of like prominent Nazis where the bank was like, we don't want to do business with you. Which they're allowed to do, right? It did not happen all over the country, but let's just say it did happen. So now you can run Ponzi schemes? Now you can take bribes? Now you can be the president and foreign companies can just, or foreign entities can just give you money? Well, they did take our bank account away, so now we can just do crime. What other choice did we have? We have to do crime.
We didn't have a damn choice. So before my father, won the election, before my father was in office, we started getting into cryptocurrency. The people in cryptocurrency...
2 days! They launched the cryptocurrency 2 days before he took office. He had already won the election. This revisionist history is crazy. 2 fucking days before he entered office. Yeah, we lost our bank accounts in 2021, and then we're like, we're just going to do crypto. We didn't do crypto till 2 days before we entered office, though, after we had won and all these crypto, and then we took all these bribes from these crypto places. By the way, the people that bought his cryptocurrency, like the 25 highest paid people, half of those people had open investigations into them. They bought Trump's cryptocurrency, and then the investigations went away. And you want us to be like, well, that's okay because after January 6th, you lost your Capital One account.
Currency were being debanked just like Trump was being debanked.
No.
Right. And you know what? It's become the fastest growing industry anywhere in the world. It's actually removed a lot of the power from the big banks who have weaponized their platforms against the American people. And I could not be more proud to be here.
I could not be more proud that our wealth has been built on the backs of foreign bribes and people who needed their investigations to go away. I am proud of the Trump family that we found a way to monetize the federal government. And now we're just letting criminals roam. And we've deregulated cryptocurrency. And all that work that we've done in the last 8 years to make sure that you couldn't run crypto scams, fuck it. We're just going to do the scams ourselves. They're like, if Trump wasn't president and he was doing this and his name wasn't Trump, if his name was Gary Felder, he would be in jail. This is a crime. This has been a crime until he became president. And now it's just not a crime. On the books, still a crime. They're just not going to prosecute it. This is why I'm afraid that I don't think they're going to leave. Because the second it's not Republicans in power, all of these folks are going to get prosecuted. They're openly doing crimes. These are crimes. I'm sorry, but you cannot run Ponzi schemes. It is illegal to do pump and dumps. There are people in jail right now who ran pump and dumps. They ran multiple pump and dumps. It is unlawful to take foreign bribes as president or as anybody involved in politics. You can't do that, and they're doing it. That's why I don't know how this ends. They're openly committing crimes. And when Trump dies, guess what? For these two, and this is why I think Trump is such a sicko. Because nobody gives a fuck about Don Jr. Nobody gives a fuck about Eric Trump. Their protection ends when daddy dies. Nobody gives a fuck about them. The Republicans will gladly throw these two under the bus, and they will pay for the crimes of their dad. Because he's not a loving dad. He's a sociopath. He's a criminal. And they're going to pay the price because they will never garner the love and attention and sycophancy that their dad has. They will be left to pay the price. There's a reason you don't see Ivanka. There's a reason you don't see Jared Kushner. And I'm just going to make a prediction. They're not going to live in America. They're going to Israel or they're going to Dubai. The second Donald Trump is out of power, they are gone. And these two will probably go with him too. And if they don't, they're going to be prosecuted. But there will be a long list of people around Donald Trump that helped him do all this, and they're all going to go to prison. They're all going to go to jail. And Trump will die, and he will never face the consequences, and it'll just be like every other business he ever ran. There will be a wake of people with lives ruined, with their net worth ruined, with jail sentences. It'll be just like last time he was president. How many people went to jail for Donald Trump? How many people have gone to jail for Donald Trump? Like we're approaching 100. How many people went to jail for Biden? 0. How many went for Obama? 0. Nobody goes to jail for any other president. We have literally approaching 100 people that have gone to jail now for Donald Trump. And when he's dead, the rest of these people are fucked.
Notice them talking about the hundreds of millions of dollars we had to spend fighting lawfare. That doesn't matter, right? That was all nonsense, right?
You didn't spend it. Also, another lie. They didn't spend a dime on lawfare. They raised money from you guys. You guys paid their bills. Are you guys getting a kickback now? Now that they're taking bribes and collecting billions of dollars, are they going to refund any of that money that they desperately needed to fight their lawfare? No. No. They're just grifting off you and you don't care.
Russia, you name it. Impeachment 1, hoax 2, 3, 4, 5, infinity. No one talks about that. They weaponized the entire full force of the United States government against our family. And unlike all the other people who'd served as a presidency before, basically since our founding fathers, Trump was the only guy that was actually a businessman before that. Are we supposed to stop running our businesses? Are we supposed to stop doing?
These are new businesses. You didn't ever stop running your businesses, first of all, but these are new. What we want you to do is run non-crimes. We would like your business not to be a crime.
Anything. He's not involved in these things. We are running those businesses as we have. We came up with a solution to a very real problem that not just us, we didn't just have to face it. Hundreds of millions of Americans either face it or are afraid that they're going to face those kind of problems because they don't just simply
They're afraid they're going to face that problem because you keep lying to them and telling them that they're going to get debanked if they're conservative, and it never happens. Look, if you like bitch shit, you're going to love the Trumps. If you are a whiny little bitch who takes no responsibility for anything that you do, if you hate accountability, goddamn, you are going to absolutely love the rest of this Trump administration. For the rest of us who are tired of seeing whiny little Nepo baby bitches complain about how they're picked on because their daddy's a criminal, it's going to be a long, however much longer this goes. Jimmy said... for the moans, thank you. Nomad said for crushing Rob in the debate, he's horrible. Asta Sophia said $1 for every time you say bitches. Good job, Jay. Appreciate you. Join the dollar train so Jen won't quit. Now I got a whole bunch more that Jen has sent. I got to read. Leafy Green said today we learned that Jay plays Red Dead Redemption, and now all I hear when he impersonates politician is Dutch Vanderlyn, John Marston, and Arthur Morgan. This is my petition to start an RTP Games channel. I love that game. It's the greatest game ever made. And I'll stand by that. But if I play a game for more than like 30 minutes, it's pretty good. Cookie Nib said, fear-mongering about the economy. Trump can fix it. Someone grab that man his Sharpie. Joseph said, soon we'll hear that recession is good. Just wait. Yeah. You know what? We're due for a depression. Americans it's going to build character. Joseph said Trump appointees in cabinet make our government look like season 8 of Celebrity Apprentice. Judge Janine, really embarrassing. Where's Tito Ortiz? We bring him in. The Automat. Please, what's the phone number so I can call and debate you instead of you just running your dick pleaser? Goddamn, I swear, these MAGA folks. We tell you how to call in 40 times a show, and then you're like, oh, I can't figure it out. Piero, if Shalimar and Benson Hedges was a person, I still don't get that one. I don't know about that one. All right, Jen, Pink said I missed the beginning of the show. Did you see your poop song on Discord? Jen, what are we talking about? There's a poop song on Discord?
I don't know. I'm guessing it's in
Gen chat?
I'm guessing it's in Out of Contact. I'm just guessing. I'm not 100% positive. Does someone know where that song is that you can tag me in it or find it real fast?
Let's see. Somebody that's in the chat. Yeah, will you tell us where it's at?
So Bradley just sent Venmo. I don't know who says bitch more. You are Cartman.
Bitch more, you are Cartman?
You or Cartman.
Oh, who's a bigger bitch? I don't watch South Park. I don't know. I don't really
You
know.
might have to start since they're back and they're making Trump specials.
Do we have anybody on the poop? It's in general? Okay. Tagged me? I don't even know how to check
Oh,
my
there you go.
tags. Do you have it?
Here. And someone just tagged us in
Gen chat?
Gen chat. It should be at the very bottom.
All right, let's see. Oh, it's on YouTube. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, listen, we're gonna let that play out today. That'll play us out today. Don't worry, we'll finish that song. I think we got them all. All right, guys, thanks so much for the support today. What a great way to end. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time. Here, wherever you watch today, either TikTok, YouTube, or Twitch. Make sure that you are a paid subscriber if you want to catch us for our next member-only event. I'm thinking about interviewing my mom for a member-only event. I need to brainstorm that with the mods, but I think that might be our next member-only event. We'll see. We'll see. Other than that, you can catch us on Twitter, on Instagram, TikTok for clips of the show. Make sure you join the Discord if you want to be in there. It's free. And for you Republicans that I know you were just about to come up, make sure you have Discord downloaded so that the next time you're in here crying for 4 straight hours, we can get you up and we can have a conversation. Take care of yourselves. Somebody mentioned earlier, take care of your mental health. If you find yourself becoming angry when you watch this show or having anxiety, take some time off. There's nothing wrong taking some time off from politics once in a while. I know it feels like you're going to miss a lot of shit, but the shit's going to happen anyway. So take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Stay cute and cool and have a great summer.